Financial Services. And the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's basketball season, and Salt Mine City is your pregame and postgame headquarters in the Haymarket for craft beers and great food. Get ready for the game with their big, fatty 7-ounce hamburger or try a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. And don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, your basketball headquarters, now open at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 a.m. Friday through Sunday at 8th and R.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies. It'll be windy and warm. Afternoon high near 77. Tonight, a chance of rain early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. A low around 41. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day with a light breeze. The high near 65. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Husker Nation, your perfect softball plan is here. With the flexible Husker Softball On Deck deal, you choose the action. For just $38, pick any 4 games plus 1 from the can't-miss Iowa series. Build your own schedule, catch your favorite matchups, and cheer on the Huskers your way all season long. But don't wait, these mini plans won't last. Visit huskers.com/tickets and make your own mini plan today. Go Big Red.
No one's ever explained it this way. That's what we hear at Trade-Offs when you finally see how today's crop insurance tools work with your grain marketing plan, not in isolation. With hail and wind rates increasing and margins already tight, it's time to challenge how you look at crop insurance. It's time to ask better questions. It's time to call Trade-Offs. Call us at 402-858-7501 or visit gotradeoffs.com to start the conversation. That's GOTREDAS.com. Trade-Offs, ingrained in your success. No, seriously, give us a call.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. 93.7 The Ticket sports news go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. Nebraska men's basketball travels to Iowa to battle the Hawkeyes on the hardwood. Following a 68-49 victory over Northwestern this past Saturday, the Cornhuskers face Iowa for the first time this season. The game between the Cornhuskers and Hawkeyes can be seen on the Big Ten Network with tip-off set for 8 p.m. Central Time. Nebraska baseball capped off opening weekend of the 2026 season with a 3-1 record in Arizona. The Cornhuskers collected wins over UConn, Northeastern, and Grand Canyon before dropping their first game of the campaign to Stanford by a score of 11-6 on Monday. Nebraska plays this Friday, February 20th against Louisville in Arlington, Texas. First pitch between the Cornhuskers and the Cardinals is scheduled for 3 p.m. Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark resigned amid federal investigation Tuesday, leaving the union without its longtime leader less than a year before the expiration of MLB's collective bargaining agreement. The resignation comes in wake of the Eastern District of New York's ongoing investigation into the finances and other dealings of the MLBPA. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is Old School, sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Well, it is not Foreman and Orman. Once again, pinch hitting in here. Nick Wyman alongside Jake Bakoven as we are in here at 90.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com, 1040 O Street. If you're watching on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, or Allo, channel 961. rocking in here. Jay off today, was with us on stream yesterday. And then Austin making another trip. Austin's been where in the world is Austin? And this should be a segment. He has been everywhere, to say the least. Was in Scottsdale, Arizona this past weekend for Nebraska baseball, and now making the road trip down to Iowa City. Not a long drive, actually, is what I've heard.
It is longer than you'd think it is. I took that this last year to go see the Florida Rosedale game, Iowa and Minnesota, and it is 4.5 hours. About 3 hours of driving through Iowa, you're ready to be done, but you still got more to go.
Not a lot of scenery to see, I would assume.
It's, to be fair, if you travel west in Nebraska, it's about the same thing. So there is that, but it seems like, Iowa's a border state. You're like, yeah, I'll be there in a few minutes. Yeah, it's not like Ames. Ames is not too far, but Iowa City's on the other side of the state.
Yeah, but they're gonna Nick and Austin be down there in Iowa City, Nebraska, playing the Hawkeyes for the first time of 2 meetings this season on the hardwood. That game will tip off at 8:00. Check out post-game coverage here, as always, around 10 o'clock tonight here on 93.7 The Ticket. But before I get into everything, hour one of Old School is brought to you by the Heartland Nebraska Windows. Heartland Nebraska Windows is based out of Hallam, Nebraska, and they offer the free estimate, full window replacements, and vinyl triple pane windows and lifetime warranty of everything while keeping your prices affordable. Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give Heartland Nebraska Windows a call today for more information at 402-430-3852 or visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Bach, Nebraska basketball. Every game is a big game in Big Ten conference play. Nebraska coming off a 68-49 win over the Northwestern Wildcats this past weekend. But this one might mean a little bit more. Nebraska, Iowa, no matter the sport, a rivalry, conference rivalry. Those two teams going at it tonight for the first time, and it's a much different Iowa team than before. Like, no Fran McCaffrey. Iowa doesn't have the superstar players, the NBA caliber players like the Murray twins or Luka Garza right now. But it's still a marquee game that everybody's talking about, because now you're not going to see them once tonight. You'll see them in a couple weeks to wrap up regular season play as well.
Yeah, and just the sting that Iowa, like you said, not just the basketball program, but even the basketball program last year. Iowa swept Nebraska. Again, you remember the first game there out in Iowa City was a high scoring affair. Needed Bryce Williams to hit a shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime. But unfortunately, Nebraska fell there, and that started their slide. Lost 6 games from there. And then the return trip home, of course, Iowa came back to Nebraska. Last chance for Nebraska to get in the Big Ten tournament and further their chances to get the NCAA tournament. Of course, came up very short there. The Sanford brothers at the time for the Iowa Hawkeyes lead the way there. Now, as you mentioned, almost a completely different team, a little bit different. Fran McCaffrey was such a long stay there in Iowa City. Along with Kirk Ferentz, the football side, he didn't have to learn a whole lot more about the Iowa teams. He just knew what they were going to bring to the table. And of course, the problem for a lot of Iowa fans over the years, opposite of Kirk Ferentz, who's known very well for his defensive football, is there wasn't a whole lot of defense there for Fran McCaffrey. Not sure to Ben McCollum, that's kind of what they hang their hat on to a degree here. So there'll be a big game there. They're going to limit possessions. They've got a very good point guard in Bennett Stearns that's going to be competition for Sanford quite clearly as one of the best shooters on the court. Could be the best player on the court. I've heard it phrased that way. But the idea here is Nebraska's got the better team, and the better team should hopefully prevail this evening. But it definitely is, with a blackout, an important game for Iowa. DP was phrased it this morning as a must-win. He had seen that from some of the Iowa beat writers. Obviously, they lose 2 games right now this morning on ESPN's projections. They are an 8 seed. But as you follow that along, they've got some tough games remaining. So I think they're 0-5 against top 25 teams so far. They've still got some tough games remaining. And so I was very much viewing this as a must-win to boost that resume and get them heading in the right direction for that. And again, with making the move this past year, and it was a little bit surprising to me because Fran McCaffrey, as you mentioned, had brought in some star players over the years at Iowa, is that they had trouble winning in the Big Dance. So the whole move was kind of made to get more success out of the Big Dance, and they've got to make it there first, obviously. So I expect a March-like atmosphere there in Carver Hawkeye Arena tonight.
Yeah, and you mentioned that they have struggled against top-ranked teams. They played Michigan State earlier this year when Michigan State was number 7, lost 71-52. And they played Iowa State, nearly beat Iowa State. And Iowa State's a pretty good team. Got a nice win last night against Houston, and one of those top showdowns that are going on across college basketball. Lost to the Hawkeyes 66-62 in a little in-state rivalry action there. Illinois lost that game by 6, lose to Purdue by 7 earlier season on the road up in West Lafayette. And then just last week, lose to Purdue again, this time at home, 78-57, and a not very competitive game. So this is one of their next 4 tests, I guess, over the next stretch. They have Nebraska tonight. Then they have Wisconsin, who we mentioned yesterday, just entered the rankings. So Iowa has another chance to play another top 25 team. And then they have Ohio State, Penn State, and then they cap off the season, not only with Nebraska at Pinnacle Bank Arena on March 8th, but then they play March 5th against Michigan. So their record, sitting right now, 18-7. Okay. Like you said, projected 8-9 window of team right now. They have a chance to really bolster their resume with all those games. However, if you lose a lot of those games, they're going to look at you and go, oh, you probably don't belong in this tournament. And if you're sitting with a 19-11 record entering, the Big Ten tournament, you're going to need to win some games in the Big Ten tournament to really put together a resume that will consider you for not being in that bubble watch. Because we've seen teams come in, conference tournaments, 18-11, get a couple wins, and then it's like, uh-oh, do they belong? Are they a first 4-in team? Because Iowa, if they lose a lot of, 4 ranked games, they lose all those. That's sitting there with about 11 losses, maybe 19 wins going into the Big Ten tournament. Tonight's a big game for Iowa. Like you said, they're doing the blackout. I'm curious, my biggest thing from today, do they, because Price Stanford obviously was on the Iowa team last year, did admit he did travel on that one play from last year as well. Right, yeah. Does he get the LeBron returning to Cleveland treatment? Does he get booed when he touches the ball? I get it's a rivalry game, but I don't see it being notoriously booing every time he gets the ball or whatever or whatnot, because what he did at Iowa is what he did at Iowa. Now it translated to Nebraska. I don't think it's bad blood, but I could be wrong. They could be like, this guy, imagine if he was on still a Hawkeye. But I don't know. You don't really see many guys transfer from Iowa to Nebraska or Nebraska, Iowa either. So this will be a good test of that in general.
Well, I think too, we can have some fun with it. I think sports fans in general can have some fun for it. Certainly, there's real guttural hate sometimes when you're booing opposing players. Then there's other times where it's like, you know what, you're wearing the opposing team's laundry today, and I don't like it. I think I felt that with Chucky Hepburn, right, when he would come here. I don't think there was actual boo this man. We don't like. It was more like, okay, there's a tie to Nebraska. Would have loved to see you come here. You know what? We're gonna boo you today, but ultimately we respect your work from them preps and what you're doing moving forward. I could be wrong. That was just maybe my interpretation of it, but that's how I would kind of figure it would be. Just because not only the years that Price spent there, but his brother. I mean, if you're Iowa and you don't love the Sanford family, there's something wrong with you. I mean, Peyton was really good there and a joy to watch, even though he did wear Iowa colors. So, I mean, I expect him to start to put some pressure. And if not the first couple times, if he starts knocking them down, if he starts to have one of those 29-point performances like he did this last time out, I think the boos might pick up throughout the game if he's particularly feeling well.
It's kind of ironic, kind of a homecoming for him. He had 6 3-pointers against Northwestern and enters tonight's game against Iowa, 1 3-point shot shy of tying the single season record for Nebraska. So kind of, hits 2 threes. He's got the record, and he would do it at his former school, former team, that arena where he kind of made a name for himself. So that'd be kind of a full circle moment for him to not only do it in Iowa, but also in a Nebraska uniform for Nebraska against his former team. So there's that. Iowa, as mentioned, 18-7, 8-6 in Big Ten play. They're coming off a 21-point loss to Purdue. It's a very different Iowa team because, Nebraska, like we mentioned, Saturday, 18 turnovers. I don't think you can get away with that against a team like Iowa, who's going to try to limit possessions and control the pace of the play. Nebraska, we've seen at times they can push. They can play up tempo and get a fast break bucket. But I think they're going to settle down a little bit more and be in a more situation like Iowa. The contrast of styles, I think, is going to show tonight, a lot.
Like it's interesting because like some teams when they play the same style of play, Nebraska's seen different styles all year throughout the Big Ten, but now Iowa is just a much different team than past years, and I don't know how you adjust to that and how everything like that. I'm curious to see how that stands for Nebraska.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, too, to see this team specifically versus a Fran McCaffrey team that would try to outshoot you. That's not going to be where they go tonight. And it's also interesting, too, because Nebraska, obviously, as we know, a lot of it just depends on how they're shooting. Is it just Price, or are there everybody kind of stepping in, hitting some threes? We've seen it. This can happen in the NBA. It's just kind of the modern day age of the 3-point arc is, there's some halves Nebraska's rolling off 50 points. There's other halves they're struggling to get to 30. And so, it is one of those games too, where they come off the season high in turnovers with 18, like you said, against Northwestern. Might be able to get away with that at home. Probably not able to get away with that against a team that's going to limit possessions and be at home there with the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I think they're going to have to play better. And then, you just wonder, are you going to get that full half? Now, I don't want to build up Iowa to be Michigan or anything like that. They're solid. They're a good squad. They've spent some time in the top 25 this year, but they've got their own holes to a degree, right? I mean, not an overwhelmingly great rebounding team. You pointed out the other day, Nebraska rebounded very well. Not a great rebounding team themselves, but rebounded very well against Northwestern. And if you can repeat that, I think that gives you a significant heads up here or leg up here against Iowa here tonight as well. And as far as the 3-point record, I do think it's kind of interesting, that it does happen to be a return there. And it's funny because we're not even, back in the day, you'd question, well, let's see what kind of looks he gets tonight. He's shooting 9 threes per game. So we pretty much, and we know how well he can shoot. You pretty much figure it's going to happen. The other thing is, though, he is passing Kerry Cohorn. A player I used to try to emulate, one of my favorite players growing up, and a great player for Nebraska in the early 2000s. He also from Iowa. So there's just kind of like an all Iowa type of connection. Maybe if Nebraska's looking for sharpshooters, they might want to go out there and look for it. By the way, Cohorn has the season record, which Price Sanford will pass here. The career record, which I don't know, we'll have to see. Sanford would have to get, of course, is going to get a lot of shots up. I'd be interested to see where that's at. But Cohort, I think, did play all 4 years here. So that's going to help him. He got minutes there. Also has the single game record with 8, which I do expect Price, especially if he returns next year, which we hope he does, but starting to get a little bit of interest at the next level. I would expect that he's going to get that one of these times, as hot as he can get shooting. And again, he has just been fantastic. That we've had the argument. I've talked with people, and I get it. Fan favorite by far is Sam Hoiberg.
Yeah.
And I'm not disparaging at all if you want to name him your MVP. For me, it's still Price Sanford, and it's not by much, right? Because Sam Hoiberg has been incredible. Rink Mass at one time was probably the right answer for MVP early on in the year. And if it keeps changing and evolving, that's no problem either. That's what this team is, a team of really good players that are all connected and doing well. But I'm not at all bringing down Sam Hoiberg when I say Price Sanford is my team MVP, but it's just so consistent. He's been in double figures every Big Ten game. He's just been going off. I mean, he's got more than 20, I think, in 5 or 6 in Big Ten games now. And it's obviously not just his shooting and knocking down points. It's the spacing that he provides. Nobody wants to give him an inch because he's, especially with his quick release, you can't. Otherwise, he's going to torch you. So, it is a good debate, and Sammy's just, Sam Hoiberg's just incredible with steals and rebounds, and I like how people call it a lot of hustle, but I don't think there's enough credit given to his speed. I think the whole idea of the walk on and the try hard, all that sort of stuff, and he does embody that as well. But you can hustle all you want if you don't have enough speed, it might not do enough for it. He is incredibly quick, and so. Both those guys are going to need to have big games tonight. They've been some of the more consistent players. Now you're looking back at Rink Mass in my mind, see if you can kind of get him back in the right direction. Lawrence obviously struggled this past game. Still looking for Frager, I think, to get back to a little bit more pre-injury Frager. So, there's plenty of storylines within who's playing. And then the guys that are, going out there. I mean, Berke, I don't expect him to hit double digits. He's kind of gotten to that role of maybe being more the rebounder and defensive and intensity and all that sort of stuff. 3 blocks this past game. everybody just needs to play their role tonight. And of course, not everybody's going to generally have the best night. You're going to need some other guys to step up, and that's what Nebraska has been really good at. This isn't a performance where I would put it all in one category. Like everybody's got to play good. When Fred Hoiberg said, we got to play our best against Michigan, even then that might not do. Again, I was not in that in that kind of field, but it's a borderline top 25 team. Obviously would be the worst loss for Nebraska if you haven't, but still wouldn't be a bad loss if it does happen to happen.
I mean, you're 22-3 and your 3 losses are the top teams in the conference. I don't think you have a bad loss on that schedule.
Yeah.
Yes, were there some heartbreaking losses? Yes, there was a slip. Everybody will remember that play for the rest of time. It'll 5 years from now, somehow that clip of Jamarcus Lawrence slipping on the Pinnacle Bank Arena court will be shown at some point in time. Bill from Bennett says Sam would be his pick for MVP. I see where people are coming from with Sam Hoiberg being MVP. I think it's really cool that you can have multiple guys step into that role. Like Duke, Cam Boozer is going to drop 20 points a game. AJ Abonsa at BYU is going to score 30 some, maybe 40 some a time. Keaton Wagler so far at Illinois. Those are some teams who have a star on their hands. Nebraska's got a plethora of guys, and with that, Price is the guy who's just kind of been since conference play started. He's been the guy. So the number's 11. He's at 11 20-plus point games this year, which ties Bryce McGowan's for the most 20-point games since 2011-2012. So that's a nice little name to be, making his name for himself in the NBA. Nice little name to be associated with. He the only Husker with more 20-plus point games in a season in Big Ten play since Nebraska joined the conference, obviously, about a decade ago, was Bryce Williams, who had 20 in 2024 and 2025. Behind him was James Palmer with 18, and then Teran Petaway with the 13 in 2014, 2015. So Bryce right behind some Nebraska basketball legends in a sense. So it's a nice little category to be a part of. And when he's scoring 20-plus points, Nebraska is a tough team to beat because a lot of teams are going to, get a off-ball screen. He's coming around for a 3. You better have a hand in his face or he's shooting it. Like he has the green light whenever. And if teams are focusing on him, that opens up for other guys. Like you said, Burke Buchengel. He's a guy who's not going to score 15 tonight, but if, make some big buckets when they're trying to double up on Price or double up on Rink in the paint, Burke can sneak in there and get a nice little, bunny at the rim and everything like that. Sam Hoiberg's the same way. Sam Hoiberg dropping 14 the other game. A quiet 14, I would say, because he does everything else so efficiently. That's why people are considering him the MVP, because he gets the steals. He's not the tallest guy out there, but he's able to be a good rebounder, boxing out when they need him to. It's just there's so many different parts of this team that makes him so difficult to scout and guard and everything whatnot. I know it's a 7-man rotation, Frager and Kale off the bench. I think that's what they're going to roll with the rest of the year. I think it's too late to kind of add depth because we've seen guys like Leo Curtis maybe play a little bit. Michigan game had a couple buckets there. Jared Garcia, they've been trying to get him rolling at some times, but he's come off the bench cold. I think the 7-man rotation is where Nebraska is going to go with. And if it stays healthy, I mean, that's 7 guys on the court you really trust.
Yeah, and in general, I mean, that's where you want to get to, a 7-8-man rotation. Obviously, we'd rather have a season, healthy and if all things perfect, maybe Oogie or like you said, Garcia would have stepped in that role. But most teams aren't playing big minutes of 9 or 10 guys anyway. So, it might seem smaller and it certainly can get pretty limited or, delicate when there is an injury or illness, as we've seen. Then you got to go into deep down the bench and get those guys. But, and I think they've done well in their roles. I think that, again, as we look at individual players and where you look at it, I agree with you. I'm just interested to see, because Garcia still is kind of on that line of like, let's play him a few minutes, see if we're getting anything from him. And if not, then we could just kind of go from there. And so sometimes that's matchup based. I'll be interested to see if he sees the court tonight. And if he does, the role that he often is going at, I mean, he goes out there to try to score, is obvious, usually not shy at putting up the threes, hasn't shot too well from beyond the arc. Obviously can take it to the bucket himself, given what his role is. But yeah, it is feeling like more and more like he's going to be left out of the rotation, or at least at the most, I should say, given a few minutes to see if you got anything from him that night. And if you do, it's kind of a bonus. If you don't, you roll back the other 7 men in the rotation.
I mean, and then again, you look at the big picture. This team's 22-3. I think people were at the beginning of the year were saying, oh, get to 20 wins. 22-3, ranked in the top 10. You're alongside the Gonzagas, the Dukes, the Michigans, Houston, Iowa State. You're in line with teams who are blue bloods in this sport. And then Nebraska is also there in the top 10. 22-3. Your 3 losses are to Illinois. At the time, were the hottest team in college basketball, could do no wrong. I even said it. I said, if the bracket came out today, they're probably my pick just because of the time they're playing. But they've cooled off since. Still not a bad loss. They're an Illinois team like that. Purdue came in here. Hoiberg said it best. He said they lost that game in the first 3 minutes of that game. Did they fight back and show a lot of heart and grit to get back in that game? Yes. Still a loss on the schedule, but hey, you were down 22 at one point to Purdue and somehow were able to will your way back into that game. And then the Michigan game, you're down 2 players in Rink Mast and Braden Frager on the road against Michigan, another tough environment. We're able to compete at a high level and nearly steal that one away as well. So 3 losses that are no real bad losses, but, a lot of teams in college basketball have bad losses. Like, look at Iowa State, for example. Last week, around this time, played TCU. TCU, they're all right. They're not a bad Big 12 team, not a great Big 12 team. They lose to them. Okay, that doesn't define their season. Beat Kansas by multiple possessions on Saturday, and then 48 hours later turn around and beat Houston by 3 last night in a really good college basketball game. So if Nebraska does slip up one time, there are opportunities to make up for it as the season progresses.
Yeah, and that's what the rating of the schedule is so interesting. And why this Iowa game is interesting, though, too, is because I think as people see it, with 3 losses now, it would be surprising if they have more than 5 losses entering Big Ten play. And I think a lot of it, at least for me, looking at this stretch, was always, okay, if you're going to lose games here, it would probably be a split with Iowa. And obviously with the split, you would think more of an opportunity here this evening on the road, and potentially a split with those that West Coast trip with USC and UCLA, more likely UCLA than USC. And, you got to win these games one at a time, all that. We're not on the team. We could go out here and project moving forward.
Yep.
It's just in general, so, but if you can win this one tonight, again, I think it starts to make it look, make it more and more likely that you're not going to slip up. This is maybe outside that UCLA game, probably the biggest test left for Nebraska in the regular season.
It's a fun one tonight, 8 o'clock in Iowa City. Nebraska and the Hawkeyes going at it for the first time of 2 on the hardwood. When we come back from the break, we will talk about some NFL news. The NFL, there's always news, Bach, all the time.
Always.
And the Miami Dolphins decided to be that team that was going to make the NFL world gather some news as they released 4 players. One of them, or 2 of them, I would say, were pretty notable. So we'll be right back. 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to Old School here.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com. All right, Lincoln, if you're a diesel technician who's ready to earn up to $40 an hour and you're tired of working nights and weekends, listen up. Inland Truck Parts and Service is hiring experienced diesel technicians right here in Lincoln, and they're offering what every hardworking tech wants. Monday through Friday hours, no nights, no weekends, and paid training on advanced diesel technology. With 37 locations across 12 states, career advancement opportunities are endless. Start building towards your future and apply today at inlandtruck.com. That's inlandtruck.com. Or text APPLY to 785-369-1320.
Honey, I love the first few months of a new year.
Why?
I get a chance to shovel.
You hate to shovel.
nuts! No cash! The Nebraska Lottery's Cash Blast promotion is back! Buy a 2x2 ticket and get a voucher. Enter online for a chance to win a $5,000 or $500 weekly prize. And if your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket, your prize is doubled!
Great. It snowed last night. Here's a shovel.
But
consider it practice.
2x2 top prize odds are 1 in 105,000.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies. It'll be windy and warm. Afternoon high near 77. Tonight, a chance of rain early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. A low around 41. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day with a light breeze. The high near 65. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Bundle up, bring your crew, and make this winter one for the books with Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st at Beer House. Enjoy winter brews that will tangle with your taste buds, polka dancing, games like Hammerschlagen and Stein Stamina, and more. Bach beer will be flowing and sausages and pretzels will be available for purchase. Doors open at 11 a.m. and the party goes outside until 6 p.m. before moving inside. VIP tickets are $75, but just $10 gets you in the door. Buy your tickets today at beerhousene.com for Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Matson's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
It's basketball season, and Salt Mine City is your pregame and postgame headquarters in the Haymarket for craft beers and great food. Get ready for the game with their big, fatty 7-ounce hamburger or try a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. And don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, your basketball headquarters, now open at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 a.m. Friday through Sunday at 8th and R.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln? Big 8 is now open at 1226 P Street, serving seafood boils and Asian cuisine. Get your hands messy with fresh, flavorful seafood boils, hot, cold, and made to share. Or enjoy classic Chinese and Asian dishes, perfect for lunch, dinner, or a night out with friends and family. Big flavors, generous portions, and a brand new dining experience. Big 8, now open in Lincoln.
Make your next event unforgettable with Grazing Gouda, your local artists and experts in charcuterie and grazed tables. From boardrooms to ballrooms, they turn gatherings into experiences with stunning spreads of artesian cheeses, cured meats, fresh fruits, and gourmet bites. Perfect for corporate luncheons, weddings, parties, or any celebration that deserves a wow moment. They handle the details. You take the compliments. Book your graze table today at GrazingGouda.com. Grazing Gouda, because every event deserves to be savored.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back to Old School with Nick Wyman, Jake Bachman, filling in here for Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Jay off today, and Austin making the trip down to Iowa City for Nebraska basketball against the Hawkeyes in the first meeting between those two Big Ten rivals. Bach, we got some news in the NFL. NFL is a world of news all the time, no matter the time of year. It could be the heat of winter. It could be training camp. There is news all the time in the NFL, and the Miami Dolphins decided to start the offseason with a bang, releasing 4 players, which includes wide receiver Tyreek Hill, 8-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro. He's currently rehabbing a major leg injury he suffered during the 2025 campaign. They have not confirmed or denied if he will miss 2026 or how much time he'll miss or if he'll be ready for the first game of the year. That is not known, but that is probably the most notable release so far that's happened in the NFL.
Yeah, it is a big one, and it is interesting to see the Dolphins kind of transition. Of course, they've got the new GM and their new coach in there, so decided to go ahead and kind of reshuffle the deck, which probably not a bad decision. It's kind of funny. We've all been around the offense trying to poke fun at Jake Sorensen for his team blowing up, but he feels like it was the time, right? And that's understandable. They put up some good numbers between Tyreek Hill and Tua Tagovailoa a couple of years ago, but of course didn't lead to any playoff success. And of course, in the last couple of years, it's dwindled down to just a 7-10 record last year. Also, in that, I know you're going to bring in Bradley Chubb, was their leading sack artist this year, actually 2 years ago, because the previous season he had to miss due to injury, but. So they are reshuffling the deck, hopefully to get more with less as far as with out of the contracts that they're probably going to have, try to unload a lot of these big contracts and reshuffle it, which is fine. Unfortunately, it doesn't make the Dolphins all that interesting. Could be a surprise team, but I think more interesting is, like you said, what happens with Tyreek Hill if he is able to return. I know Kansas City Chiefs fans would love to see him in a Chiefs uniform again, maybe get the old band back together, keep Travis Kelce around for another year. Or so, and that would be fun, or just in general. I mean, you can't teach his speed if he returns with that speed. Still one of the most dangerous deep threats in the league. So we'll see where it kind of turns here. But it looks more and more likely that they're not going to stick with Tua Tagovailoa. Now, he has not been released yet, but again, that seems to be the direction they're heading.
So prior to the Tyreek Hill news, there was reported that the Dolphins also released Bradley Chubb, offensive guard James Daniels, and wide out Nick Westbrook and Kine, who had a lot of touchdowns when he was with the Titans before his time with the Dolphins. So these 4 cuts will clear up over $56 million in cap room for Miami, as they have head coach Jeff Hafley and new GM John Eric Sullivan in charge. It's interesting. You make these moves. The quarterback is going to be the question mark, because Mike McDaniel was brought in to fix the offense, and I mean, he did at times. At times, there were times where Tua was slinging it to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane and et cetera. And they made the playoffs, but once the weather turned cold, things went south, literally, for the Miami Dolphins. And this past year, Tua's injuries happened, concussions the past couple of years add up, and the level of play just was not there. They move on. GM and Mike McDaniel obviously gone, bringing Jeff Hafley and John Eric Sullivan. Now they're in this weird situation where, the coach is gone who had your guy. You've gone through so many play callers for Tua Tagovailoa now. He's making a lot of money still. So I don't know what you do with him, what suitors are there. Maybe you trade him. I mean, the NFL is a world where guys get traded. We've seen it with guys like Russell Wilson from time to time who eat a lot of money on contracts. I'm just curious what the Dolphins, where their next move is. This is just probably the start. But I'm curious to see where they go from here, because maybe you do run it back one more year with Tua, and this is kind of the trial and error year. Maybe this is your last shot, bringing a veteran, maybe to compete with him. But I don't think you're sitting a quarterback with that much money holding you captive in the salary cap. I was looking if they were to get rid of Tua in some situation. You got Quinn Ewers, the only other quarterback on the roster right now. And he did play the final couple games of the regular season. Wasn't great, wasn't bad, but he's just kind of there. And I don't think as a new coach and a new GM, you can afford to rely on a Quinn Ewers season to try to, because we've seen it where guys like Gerard Mayo, 3-14 year with Drake May, his first year, and he's out the door. And then, oh, look, Mike Vrabel's he's available for coach. Well, we're going to bring him in and go to the Super Bowl. So I don't think you're going to, as in a win now league, I don't think you can afford to, we'll just, punt on 2026 and get ready for 2027, because look at the draft class. This year's draft class for quarterbacks, not great. I mean, not deep. You got Fernando Mendoza more than likely going number 1, Ty Simpson somewhere in that 15 to 30 range. Dolphins have the 11th pick. So I don't know if you want to reach on a quarterback. I mean, trade up. I don't know. That's a whole nother world to go down as the draft comes up in April. There's some veteran quarterbacks out there like Tyrod Taylor, Russell Wilson, Trey Lance is another name that's out there.
Geno Smith could be added to the list too.
There's a couple of names out there, but there's so many different directions the Dolphins could go, but I don't really know if they fully know what they're doing yet, because there's just so many different variables, and this is just $56 million in cap, maybe to put some people around to. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, now I'm interested to see kind of, some of the other players that they're going to keep around. Do they want to keep Jalen Waddle? Do you want to keep some of the standouts there on defense that they had? Or, like you said, because it's tough. It's tough to sell a fan base. It's tough to tell anybody, hey, this is not the year we're necessarily competing. But when you get a new GM, new coach, you make moves like this, it does. I mean, it obviously sends signals of rebuilding. And rebuilding obviously means you're not in that kind of competitive switch type of mode, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do. You mentioned all those quarterbacks. I haven't brought up Geno Smith, who could be released by the Raiders as well. Are any of those moves going to immediately put the Dolphins at the top? Probably not. But again, I mean, you still got some pieces there. Do you keep those pieces? I mean, this is not a 3-win team from last year. It's a 7-win team. So that at least tells you a little bit more, not completely at the bottom. You got A-Chain, I think one of the defenders had 183 tackles or something like that. I mean, they've got a few pieces there that could still help in the rebuild. But Tua seems probably not likely to be that. And of course, the problem with him is he's got a huge contract. I mean, it'd be easy just to move on otherwise. But so there's been ideas floated out there to just swap, try to swap with Kyler Murray. I don't know if that really helps anybody in that situation. But yeah, I mean, and then so the next idea for Tua is if he is let go, is where does he land? Is he still seen as a starter with that contract? Did somebody think they can kind of get a previous version out of him from what was it, 2023, where he kind of was able to put up some numbers? Maybe, but then there's the other thing. I mean, the background issue that I've had with Tua the whole time is I don't want to see that man get one more concussion. It's uncomfortable watching. And so it is an intriguing time, certainly for the Dolphins, certainly for Tua, and it can be a frustrating time. And again, some Dolphins fans, and I'll have to try to reach out to my other buddies, the Dolphins fans, see how he feels about it. But at least Sorensen, sometimes you can feel it as a fan. Like, this is actually, it might not be good in the standings, it might not be ultimately the move, but where we are right now, it's too broken up. It's not going to work.
I think Sorensen's pretty numb to the Miami Dolphins.
And it'd be for yourself, yeah.
I think so. So I have the free agent list of quarterbacks currently. I'll name a couple of them here. Tell me if any of them kind of catch your eye, because there's some that could be signing a veteran, a safe bet quarterback. Let's say if Tua ends up getting dealt to, insert name of team here. There's Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Tyrod Taylor, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Malik Willis. Those are probably your guys who are safe bets quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley's on there as well. Gardner Minshew. Those are probably your safe bets. Tyrod Taylor's probably the most safe quarterback you can go with as a new coach and a new GM, where he's going to, he's been in several different positions, several different coaches, playbooks. He'd be like a safe veteran quarterback you go to, but I don't know if you want to ride him out for a full year. But you also have Quinn Ewers there who, he played multiple years at Texas, played Ohio State before then. Didn't really play, but he was at Ohio State enrolled there. But he was a rookie last year. So I don't know where you go from there and whatnot. The other names like Kyler Murray. You mentioned Kyler Murray. What happens with him? So like him and Tua are kind of the two dominoes, I think, in the quarterback offseason moves to start to get things going. Because Kyler Murray, you go on to that topic with the Cardinals, I mean, had some pretty solid years when Cliff Kingsbury was there. Had a Hail Mary that time against the Bills in 2020 to DeAndre Hopkins. Pretty memorable play. He got the Cardinals to the playoffs. Did they win in the playoffs? No, but he got them to the playoffs. The Cardinals haven't really done much since Kurt Warner is there. Carson Palmer had a couple.
Yeah, give us that Carson Palmer.
Carson Palmer's got some good years in there. My bad, Carson Palmer, USC Trojans.
Yeah.
But like Cardinals, they're also in kind of a similar situation. New coach. They didn't really put much around Kyler Murray outside of Marvin Harrison Jr. They're just trying to figure it out. And I don't know, with the rookie class right now, there's no givens. Like, you draft a quarterback, it's not given he's going to be a franchise guy, as most teams have known in the NFL. The draft class, I don't think people are just look at the 2027 draft class. I don't think that's a given either. Look at before the year started back in August, everybody was talking about how the quarterback class with like Sam Levitt, Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller was going to be so deep this year in 2026. Flash forward to after the college football playoff, there's maybe one or two quarterbacks going in the first round right now. And there's a very big question mark after those two guys, and Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza. It's not given. And there's a lot of veteran quarterbacks out there. I mean, we see in the NFL that you don't have to have the star-studded quarterback to win it all. I mean, Sam Darnold was passed over by 3 or 4 franchises, was maybe a backup with the 49ers. That's all he was seen as by them because they had Brock Purdy and they were in a Super Bowl. Was with the Vikings, and he's there as kind of a bridge quarterback just before J.J. McCarthy gets healthy, and then he goes to Seattle, and hey, he wins the Super Bowl. I mean, it's a league where right now the quarterback doesn't have to be the star-studded. You don't have to have a Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson or whatnot to win it all.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because that's, as I was kind of thinking through the Dolphins situation, the Cardinals, as you brought it up, if they get rid of Kyler Murray, shed his contract, they've got Jacoby Brissett there, so they should feel pretty good. Really good stopgap quarterback if that's what you're looking for. But to your point, though, like as you were saying it, I was thinking, yeah, but what is that going to do? You bring in Tyrod Taylor and you win 2 more games than you should have,
yes.
And then you have 5 wins instead of 3, and then you have a worse draft pick, and that's where you get to thinking, with all those names, it's like, might just draft a quarterback or 2 and run with Quinn Ewers. You know what I mean? Just to see if you've got anything. Maybe you can kind of hit the lottery there in the draft later in the rounds or whatever the case might be, wherever they decided. But to your other point there is maybe don't be so dismissive of some of these guys that we're thinking of middle ground or stopgap quarterbacks, because we've seen teams able to win. Some of those guys are definitely getting older, way past their prime. Maybe they can spark some of that old energy back into the team and get a run going there. But again, you have to feel good about what's around you. And the Dolphins, I think, still have to decide, what they're going to do with some of those pieces that still would be enticing, like maybe in a trade scenario or as part of the rebuild. Or are you going to go all the way into let's tank for Arch Manning or, whoever it might be.
Exactly. But that's not a given. Who knows? Right. Arch could return another year, and who knows with quarterbacks, because college football season evolves and a lot could happen. So we're going to go break. Nick Wyman, Jake Bachman, Old School. We'll be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
When it comes to keeping your equipment running, you've got options at Landmark Implement. Whether you need premium John Deere parts or a more economical solution, A&I parts from Landmark deliver the dependable performance you can count on with cost savings up to 40%. From filters and bearings to belts and everyday repairs, A&I parts are built to work as hard as you do while helping stretch your budget further. Stop by your local Landmark Implement parts counter today or shop online anytime at shop.deere.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Go Hog Wild Pit Barbecue.
Hog Wild has a delicious way for you to enjoy beef brisket. It's our open-faced hot beef sandwich. We start with our grilled Texas toast. Add a scoop of creamy mashed potatoes. Load them up with some tender Hog Wild beef brisket and top it off with our tasty brown gravy. It's absolutely delicious. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue, 3210 Cornhusker Highway in Lincoln.
But don't be late, we close at 8.
Concrete Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers and maintenance technicians. Concrete Industries offers great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, holidays, and paid time off. Apply today to earn a starting pay of $21.50 per hour plus a $1,500 hiring bonus. Concrete Industries is hiring all experience levels and offers on-the-job training. Start your career today as a precast production laborer or maintenance technician. Visit concreteindustries.com.
Sometimes good people make mistakes. When you find yourself in need of an attorney, call Liberty Law Group. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group will defend you in court and protect your freedom to get you the best possible outcome and the justice you deserve. Trust your freedom to Liberty Law Group, the best criminal attorneys in Nebraska and Iowa. Call them today at 877-404-5238. That's 877-404-5238. Or check them out online at libertylawgroup.com.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's basketball season, and Salt Mine City is your pregame and postgame headquarters in the Haymarket for craft beers and great food. Get ready for the game with their big, fatty 7-ounce hamburger or try a Reuben sandwich served on Blackstone rye bread. And don't forget their beef or chicken nachos with guacamole, sour cream, jalapenos, and more. Wash it down with one of their 12 beers on tap, including the popular Single Axle Light American Lager. Salt Mine City, your basketball headquarters, now open at 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 11 a.m. Friday through Sunday at 8th and R.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL Weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
The Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies. It'll be windy and warm. Afternoon high near 77. Tonight, a chance of rain early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. A low around 41. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day with a light breeze. And a high near 65. I'm meteorologist Kyle Puckett for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Lincoln's go-to for fun isn't new. It's a place that's been a staple of the city for years and is only getting better. Matson's Bowling and Billiards always has open bowling available with no long lines, unlike other centers. They have live music almost every weekend and great food at EJ's Bar and Lounge, with seating for 150 people. They have popular meals like the EJ Burger, pizza for the whole family, and famous EJ's Wings. Contact Sarah to book a party for friends, coworkers, or family at Matson's Bowling and Billiards, just south of 48th and Holdridge.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Bundle up, bring your crew, and make this winter one for the books with Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st at Beer House. Enjoy winter brews that will tangle with your taste buds, polka dancing, games like Hammerschlagen and Stein Stamina, and more. Bach beer will be flowing and sausages and pretzels will be available for purchase. Doors open at 11 a.m. and the party goes outside until 6 p.m. before moving inside. VIP tickets are $75, but just $10 gets you in the door.
Buy your tickets today at beerhousene.com for Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and right now at Koppel, we are offering big discounts on all of our inventory. 2026 GMC Terrains are leasing at $279 per month, or buy for $27,690. 2026 Canyons leasing for $269, or buy for $40,980. Also, right now, all new Equinox EVs and all half-ton trucks are starting at $12,000 off MSRP. These are just a few examples of some of the aggressive pricing going on right now at Koppel. Please stop on in or check us out at koppelcars.com. All leases with $2,500 down with a roof credit.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, Old School. Nick Wyman, Jake Bachman filling in for Austin Orman and Jay Foreman today on this Tuesday, February 17th of 2026. Before we went to break, we got a text in from Waverly Jim saying if NIL wasn't a thing, it would be a much better quarterback class this year. I mean, yeah, to an extent. I mean, Dante Moore kind of stands out. Trinidad Chambers, I mean, he gets another year, fights his way to get another eligibility with Ole Miss after spending time with Ferris State and then having a successful year with the Rebels. I mean, yeah, would it be? Would it be a much better situation if NIL didn't affect the draft classes so much? Because guys can go back to college and be in a much better situation than have to go play for a franchise like the New York Jets, who have been famously for drafting quarterbacks who have not been very successful in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that's been a benefit to college football that maybe we don't give it, right? The NIL world, and there's a lot of frustrations about how it's changed college football and all of that. But in certainly in college basketball, you had a huge problem with guys that probably weren't going to get drafted or were second round picks, but it's time to strike. Go and pay for play, get some money out of this whole deal. And football is kind of the same way. I'm still shocked. And I don't think the shock will ever stop from the Dante Moore decision because he's probably leaving money out there on the table. But, he feels like there's still something to be done there at Oregon. Obviously paid very handsomely there. So, I mean, I don't think there's any argument just because of Dante Moore. I mean, Dante Moore would have been a top 10 pick and it is now returning to college. So, it would have been a better draft class. And then you think about I think Carson Beck's finally actually going pro. But those type of kind of mid-level quarterbacks that you might be able to find maybe a diamond rough in the 4th or 5th round. If you're projecting to that as a junior, now you're saying, okay, well, I'll come back, make money, and at worst probably get that round selection, next year and hopefully improve my stock. So yeah, it can delay or hurt a little bit of the NFL draft and the opportunity there. But yeah, again, as a college football fan, you got to be excited because there's a guy in Dante Moore that probably would be starting for an NFL team suiting up for somebody in the Big Ten here.
A lot of people had him as the 2nd overall pick to the New York Jets. So, like you said, leave money on the table. But hey, he gets to go back to Oregon and compete for another national championship, more than likely. A semifinalist running to Indiana and didn't play his best during that game too. So maybe that was a factor. Who knows? Curious where that goes for the Ducks going into 2026. But also for 2026, Nebraska football spring practice back on the field begins their 15 spring workouts this Saturday. It feels like just yesterday they were playing in the Las Vegas Bowl, and now spring practice kicking into high gear. A lot to be excited about because a lot of the transfer portals come and gone. A lot of people have come in. Guys have left, like Emmett Johnson. Sad to see them go just because he's going to go in the NFL and do his thing because he'll be in the combine next week, actually, in Indianapolis for the NFL scouting combine. I guess, Bach, what are you most excited to see from Nebraska over the next 15 spring workouts? Because a lot is the same, but there is a lot that is different.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I've been, kind of chatting about this throughout the day too. It's going to be tough to tell what you're watching. I don't think Matt Rule and staff are going to really know what they have out of this team. I think it's going to be tough for the media to step back and say, oh man, they got a really good run game this year, right? Because you don't know. They have a poor rush defense last year, changing defenses, or, vice versa. Maybe they've got a really good rush defense this year, but you don't know because Emmett Johnson is gone. And so what's left of that running game, right? So it is going to be particularly tough to tell there. I know they got a pretty good wide receiver unit. You can feel pretty good about that. The defensive backs, a lot of new coming in. I think the new players is going to be interesting. In installing the defense, just all together. I think that's going to be something to look forward to. But I think as usual, if there's a new quarterback in town and somewhat of a quarterback battle, that'll probably grab the headlines, and fair enough. But I think to me, I'm really intrigued by, that offensive line, the new defense. I think last year it was identifiable going in. It might be a problem with the bigs up front on the offensive line and defensive line. That turned out to be true. Well, okay, we went through the year, it happened, and now you got to fix it. So, Jeep Wade, on the offensive side and bringing 3 new offensive linemen in there, expected to be starters. You want to see that go well from the beginning. And then on the defensive side, the new defensive coordinator, Rob Orich, wasn't a terrible defense, but was pretty bad against the run again. So you want to see that get shored up. And so, I think that those would be, it's hard to narrow it down, right? Because there's just a lot of problems for Nebraska that they need to improve on. But those would be kind of the 2 things outside of quarterback that specifically have my interest.
Quarterback is a conversation in itself because you have 3 guys who could potentially start in some shape or form, have played at the D1 level in some shape or form. Curious how that shakes out, just because Anthony Calandria, more than likely the front runner, I would say, but then you have TJ Lateef, who came on last year, played in a handful of games, the UCLA game. Welcome to college football moment for him. And then you have Danny Kaelin, who's back after leaving for Virginia, getting some time there with the Cavaliers, and now heading back. So it should be a fun couple of weeks, and then the spring game will sneak up real quickly. Earlier, there should be a lot. There's a lot going on to that. Softball and baseball play at the exact same time over down at Bolin and Haymarket Park at that 2:00. And then maybe an Elite Eight game. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say, could be. It could be. But March Madness is March Madness. So we're going to go to break after hour 1 here. Austin Orman hopping in here from Iowa City, made the drive. It looks like he made it. He'll be joining me for hour 2 here. You're listening to 91.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
MHC isn't a new company, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can handle your commercial moves as well. MHC Moving has 0 hidden fees. You'll never pay for same-day booking or be charged for stairs, heavy items, or elevator fees. Rates are the same Monday through Saturday, and you will never pay a truck or fuel surcharge. And they offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
When it comes to keeping your equipment running, you've got options at Landmark Implement. Whether you need premium John Deere parts or a more economical solution, A&I parts from Landmark deliver the dependable performance you can count on with cost savings up to 40%. From filters and bearings to belts and everyday repairs, A&I parts are built to work as hard as you do while helping stretch your budget further. Stop by your local Landmark Implement parts counter today or shop online anytime at shop.deere.com and experience the Landmark difference.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies. It'll be windy and warm. Afternoon high near 77. Tonight, a chance of rain early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. A low around 41. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day with a light breeze and a high near 65. I'm meteorologist Kyle Puckett for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Tune in to Outside the Box from 4 to 5 p.m. for everything you need to know about the Lincoln Stars. Join head coach Rocky Russo and play-by-play voice Alex Fern as they sit down with special player guests to tell the story of the Lincoln Stars and give you all the news and notes you need from around the USHL. That's Outside the Box with the Lincoln Stars on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln? Big 8 is now open at 1226 P Street, serving seafood boils and Asian cuisine. Get your hands messy with fresh, flavorful seafood boils, hot, bold, and made to share. Or enjoy classic Chinese and Asian dishes, perfect for lunch, dinner, or a night out with friends and family. Big flavors, generous portions, and a brand new dining experience. Big 8, now open in Lincoln. Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Concrete Industries has immediate job openings for precast production laborers and maintenance technicians. Concrete Industries offers great pay, health benefits, 401k, a wellness program, holidays, and paid time off. Apply today to earn a starting pay of $21.50 per hour plus a $1,500 hiring bonus. Concrete Industries is hiring all experience levels and offers on-the-job training. Start your career today as a precast production laborer or maintenance technician. Visit concreteindustries.com.
If you're tired of the dieting circuit paradox but still want to look, feel, and perform better, you need to get to Nutrition Authority and ask about our nutrition coaching featuring LifeBase. LifeBase takes the complex world of nutrition and makes it simple with real results that last. Stop in to learn more or check us out at mynutritionauthority.com.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
93.7 The Ticket Sports News go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. Nebraska men's basketball travels to Iowa to battle the Hawkeyes on the hardwood. Following a 68-49 victory over Northwestern this past Saturday, the Cornhuskers face Iowa for the first time this season. The game between the Cornhuskers and Hawkeyes can be seen on the Big Ten Network with tip-off set for 8 p.m. Central Time. Nebraska baseball capped off opening weekend of the 2026 season with a 3-1 record in Arizona. The Cornhuskers collected wins over UConn, Northeastern, and Grand Canyon before dropping their first game of the campaign to Stanford by a score of 11-6 on Monday. Nebraska plays this Friday, February 20th against Louisville in Arlington, Texas. First pitch between the Cornhuskers and the Cardinals is scheduled for 3 p.m. Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark resigned amid federal investigation Tuesday, leaving the union without its longtime leader less than a year before the expiration of MLB's collective bargaining agreement. The resignation comes in wake of the Eastern District of New York's ongoing investigation into the finances and other dealings of the MLBPA. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln. This is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped and picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Hour one of Old School is sponsored by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That is right. Old School with Austin Orman and Jay Foreman. Jay out today again, but we've had another line change. Call to the bullpen, Austin Orman. Where in the world is Austin Orman should be the segment of the day. We made that joke in the first segment, and now Austin is here. Austin, are you still chilling in Scottsdale, or no, you are not? Let the viewers know what you are been up to the past 48 hours.
Yeah, no, I made it back to the 402 for approximately, let's do some quick
Austin,
math here.
We can't hear you.
Cannot hear you. Well, I'm unmuted.
You're popping up in the audio there, but we cannot hear you.
Okay, well,
so far
I can hear me.
Right now,
see
technical difficulties with Austin right now. We will. So far on stream, we cannot hear you. So far, we will step in here and get Harrison in here to figure that out right now. But yeah, Austin Norman trying to figure out his audio issues currently. He is right now in Iowa City. Spoiler alert. He is in Iowa City. But
Let's try this again.
We're having issues with him. Let's try to speak real quick, Austin.
Anything.
Give you a little test.
Anything. Hello.
Yeah, audio's picking up
Hello.
right now and everything, but can't hear you so far. So interesting. Very interesting. Harrison, can we hear him on the outside on stream?
Try again. Try.
All right. So we're gonna throw it. We're gonna throw it to break real quick. We're gonna figure it out on the other end. Old school Nick Wyman, Austin Norman. We'll get you from Iowa City. Coming up here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Are you looking for something different for lunch or dinner in Lincoln? Big 8 is now open at 1226 P Street, serving seafood boils and Asian cuisine. Get your hands messy with fresh, flavorful seafood boils, hot, bold, and made to share. Or enjoy classic Chinese and Asian dishes, perfect for lunch, dinner, or a night out with friends and family. Big flavors, generous portions, and a brand new dining experience. Big 8, now open in Lincoln.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. We have pickup and delivery.
Yes, my mic is hooked up right now, and I'm talking to it.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Hey, Nebraska, this is your moment. Love Nebraska is already making noise on the court, but they're still missing one thing, a nickname. That's where you come in. Love Nebraska is giving fans the chance to submit the team's official nickname. Fans will then vote on the finalists later this season. Head to lovneb.com/nameyourteam to submit your nickname and get in the game. Submissions end on February 22nd. Name your team, shape the legacy. Hey guys, it's Nick Sainer. Join me and Austin Norman tonight from Iowa City as 93.7 The Ticket covers Husker basketball's big road game at 8 p.m. versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. We'll have pregame and postgame videos on the Ticket's social media pages, as well as commentary throughout the game. And we'll make sure to chime in for postgame beginning around 10 p.m. as well. Our coverage from Iowa City is sponsored by Diode Technologies, Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador, the Lincoln Airport, and Scissors and Scotch Lincoln.
If you're tired of the dieting circuit paradox but still want to look, feel, and perform better, you need to get to Nutrition Authority and ask about our nutrition coaching featuring LifeBase. LifeBase takes the complex world of nutrition and makes it simple with real results that last. Stop in to learn more or check us out at mynutritionauthority.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Fans, are you craving the ultimate game day experience? Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill has your front row seat to all the action. Dive into delicious wings, juicy burgers, and ice-cold drinks, all served up with TVs covering every inch of the wall, so you'll never miss a play. Rally your crew, cheer on your team, and take advantage of game night specials every week. Stop in for a Nebraska basketball game with a party of 4 or more and receive a free pitcher of beer. Red Zone Sports Bar and Grill, right by the Lincoln Airport at 3111 Northwest 12th Street.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And it looks like we figured it out. Problem solving at its finest. We are, yes.
Are we
awesome. Moral victory. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Yes. So, where in the world is Austin Orman? Old school Nick Wyman, Austin Orman. Where in the world is Austin? As I left you on the cliffhanger, was in Scottsdale, Arizona, spring training side the Chicago Cubs and whatnot. And now, where is Austin Orman as of February 17th, 2026?
Well, after approximately 14 hours in the 402, I am sitting at a hotel in Coralville, Iowa, right next to the University of Iowa Med Center, just down the street from Extreme Arena, and about 5 minutes away from Carver Hawkeye Arena. So it's been a whirlwind. I wouldn't trade it. It was nice to be able to sleep in my own bed last night, see my wife, see the kids, have a good little bit of a morning with them before getting back on the road. And man, one of those things you wouldn't trade for the world, right? Yeah, I miss my family. Yeah, I love them absolutely, but man, this is what we live for in this industry, right? Being able to.
You missed Valentine's Day.
No, I did not. Because I did the pro move and I took my wife out the weekend before, right? I'm not gonna. I can do it later. I'm not gonna make up for it. No, I specifically made sure, since I was on that trip to Phoenix, that I handled business ahead of time. So, fellas, you can do it too. I'm not a great planner, but even I can do the bare minimums and the basics like that. So yes, I was gone on Valentine's Day, but do not put it out there that I missed Valentine's Day, because I specifically did not miss Valentine's Day.
You should celebrate Valentine's Day every day for your loved ones. That's the way to do it. Yep. And Austin's a great guy. And you
flatter me.
Sleep in your own bed, and then you made the road trip up to Iowa City. But Old School is brought to you by Graham Tire Company and celebrating 75 years of service in the Midwest. They're more than just tires. They do all kind of car and light and truck repairs too. From brakes to oil changes. Trust Graham Tire for your service and count on it. Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. Speaking of getting the places that matter most, Austin down in Iowa City, Iowa, Nebraska playing the Hawkeyes for the first time of 2 times in the next couple of weeks on the hardwood. Austin, this is an interesting game, not only for Nebraska, who got back on the win column against Northwestern on Saturday, but for Iowa. Iowa has struggled against ranked teams in the past couple of weeks, and this is the first of many tests that they have to try to add to their resume as March is quickly approaching.
Yeah, no, it's a big game for both teams. And as I was trying to think through this matchup, I still can't decide who it's bigger for, and I think that's a good thing in a game that's going to be, I assume, as heated and charged as this one could be. Iowa needs it to continue to play its way into the NCAA tournament bracket. The metrics, the numbers, love them. The Ken Palm, the Net have them as a borderline top 25. Net had them in the top 20 for a long time caliber of team, but without many of those marquee victory to hang their hats on, right? Numbers darlings being propped up a little bit by the Big Ten and blowing out some teams in the non-conference, but still in search of that first marquee win. It's also big for Nebraska, trying to keep pace in the race to get a 2 seed and get the most favorable draw that they can. And I think between this game and the UCLA game coming up 2 weeks from today, I believe it would be when Nebraska heads out there to Westwood. I think those are the 2 toughest games remaining on Nebraska's schedule. If you look at that stretch that Nebraska had, Michigan, Illinois, and then Purdue with the Northwestern game sprinkled in there as well. Nebraska losing all 3 of those games didn't hurt Nebraska in the big picture sense, right? The season's still on pace, but it did hurt in the quest for a 2 seed. If Nebraska would have been able to steal, I say steal in retrospect, but if Nebraska would have been able to, split the home games at the very least, have a 1-2 stretch, well, okay. I mean, you got another ranked win, probably a top 15 or better caliber win at home. Now I would say Nebraska really only has 2 2.5 chances to really improve its resume. Otherwise, it's going to be more about avoiding landmines than it is banking wins of any significance. If you look at the Ken Pomeroy numbers for Nebraska specifically, Ken Pom predicts Nebraska to win this game by a single point with a 52% win probability. The betting line right now is Iowa favored by 1.5. Either way, going to be, we expect a pretty tremendous game. Then Nebraska's other win percentages, 96% against Penn State, 97% against Maryland, 70% on the road at USC, 60% at UCLA, and 74% with the home game against Iowa is what Nebraska is projected to do. Winning on the road, we know, is hard in the Big Ten. This is a place that Nebraska hasn't had much success. I think only 2 or 3 wins in Carver Hawkeye all time, or at least since joining the Big Ten. So, yeah, if Nebraska wants to continue to play its way up into the 2 seed, they need a win tonight. They need to look pretty darn good on the road doing it. It's going to be tough. I think Iowa is a pretty talented team, and Nebraska's taken other teams' best shots on the road and handled them, pretty consistently this year, right? You think about the Indiana game in that comeback. Ohio State, who just suffered an unfortunate injury over the weekend to one of my favorite players to watch from a distance in John Mobley Jr. Nebraska took 2 good punches there. Nebraska went up to Minnesota and took everything it could handle from the Gophers for a half. Went on the road and buried Northwestern in the second half. So, Nebraska has faced these teams that have a history of pulling upsets in their home gym, walked out unscathed. I don't think they've played a team that plays the exact same way Iowa does this year. Iowa's good. Iowa's talented. I think it's going to be a better environment than I've heard people saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, Nebraska coming to town, Iowa in search of a marquee victory. I think there's a lot on Nebraska's plate to come out hot, take the crowd out of it early, and see if you can keep Iowa at arm's length.
Yeah, and it's a much different Iowa team than past years with Fran McCaffrey. Fran McCaffrey was a character. One of my favorite memories when he called that timeout and stared down the referee a couple of years ago. One of my favorite core memories of the Fran McCaffrey era. But a much different Iowa team, not only with coach, but also players and style of play. I mean, Iowa's the team that's had the Murray brothers, had Luka Garza, and they've been able to put together some NBA caliber players. And now this Iowa team, they're no slouch still. They're a difficult team. You can bottle them up in that USC, UCLA bubble that Nebraska has left on their schedule. But every game, like you said, avoiding landmines. Landmines, we've seen it with teams look at a team like Iowa State. Iowa State lost to TCU last week. That's a landmine right there. TCU, not a bad Big 12 team, not a great Big 12 team, but that's a landmine right there. And Iowa State comes back, beats Kansas, and last night in a really good game, beats Houston. Gus Mohawk on our Sarah Heyman Jewelers text line at 402-464-5685 says, do you think Iowa fans boo Price Sanford when he has the ball tonight? Kind of like how Nebraska did with Chucky Hepburn a couple of years ago.
Man, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised by it. I kind of hope they do in some ways, right? I think that's what makes games like this so fun and so entertaining. I think Price Sanford is mature enough to handle it. I don't think it's going to bother him, not going to affect him. But this is a Price Sanford that's killed Nebraska in this gym in years past. And Nebraska, like I said, has struggled here in the Big Ten, Nick, and really struggled in the recent series history. Of course, last year's 2 games were decided, one of them potentially on the Price Sanford double dribble, no double dribble call. That was just a year ago. In January is when that one was. That was a game that Nebraska led by 3, that Nebraska had a chance to win late in the second half before the non-double dribble call that would have given Nebraska the ball back with the chance for, I think, the final shot in regulation. Then Iowa goes out and puts up 21 points in the 5-minute overtime period to win it by 10. That kicked off the 6-game losing streak that Nebraska went on in the early middle part of last season. And then, of course, Iowa came to Lincoln on senior day, and Price Sanford and Peyton Sanford wore the show. Those 2 guys go a combined 14 of 27 overall. They shoot 6 of 15 from 3. Iowa ends up winning that one 83-68. That's an Iowa team that needed that win to sneak into the Big Ten tournament. Nebraska, obviously missed out on the Big Ten tournament thanks in no small part to that Iowa loss, losing to Minnesota. Those are the last 2 games in that 5-game skid that had Nebraska go from, bubble team 7 or 8 seed to out of not just the NCAA tournament, but the Big Ten tournament as well. I didn't realize this going back, Nick, but Nebraska and Iowa only played once in the 23-24 season. Nebraska ended up losing that game on the road early in the season. It took till Nebraska went to Indiana that year to get a road win in conference. But in another kind of quirk, and a thing I'd forgotten, this Nebraska team won both games against Iowa in the 500 season back in 22-23. I was at the game that they beat Iowa 66-50 in PBA. And then I had to look into the other game that Nebraska won. I think it's still their most recent win in Carver Hawkeye Arena back in 22-23. One of the weirdest box scores I think I've ever seen. Nebraska was so incredibly efficient offensively, an effective field goal percentage of 72%, but Nebraska turned it over 21% of the time in that game. They allowed Iowa a 37.5% offensive rebound rate in that game. And I'm trying to pull up the numbers here again. Yeah, Iowa ends up with as many offensive rebounds as it does defensive rebounds. Iowa takes 74 shots in that game, only makes 27 of them, whereas Nebraska goes 31 of 53, including 14 of 26 from 3-point range to come back from a 4-point halftime deficit and win it by 4. This has been a funky series recently, really no rhyme or reason to it. And, that's why I give Nebraska as good a chance as any to pull it off, because I think this team, needs it just for the positive vibes, for the good juju, get that winning feeling back. There'd be nothing like going on the road, beating at least a fan base rival. Fred Hoiberg, obviously plenty of history with the Iowa program from his playing days as well. I think this is a challenge that Nebraska is going to relish, and I think the Huskers have a great opportunity to pick up a pretty quality win tonight.
And you look at Iowa's schedule, they've struggled against the ranked teams this year. Way back in the beginning of the year, begin Big Ten play, played at Michigan State, lose to them 71-52. Iowa State at the time, in-state rivalry game, big game between the Cyclones, the Hawkeyes in every sport, lose that game 66-62. Conference play continues to go down. They lose to Illinois by multiple possessions, and lose to Purdue by 7 at Purdue in West Lafayette, who was ranked number 5 at the time. And then they kind of went on a little bit of a winning streak against Rutgers, USC, Oregon, Washington, and Northwestern. But then this past week, lose to Maryland, a kind of a shocking score, I would say, just of how Iowa was going at the time, and then how Maryland's season's kind of gone out of control. 77-70 in that one for the Terrapins coming out on top. And then Purdue, who Nebraska just saw at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Purdue beats the Hawkeyes 78-57. Such a weird season for Iowa, but they have not beaten a ranked team, but they have multiple opportunities left on the schedule, beginning with tonight with Nebraska. After that, they're playing at Wisconsin on the 22nd, a team that just entered the rankings and is starting to kind of find their groove within the season. I mean, Nebraska saw them way back in the beginning of the year and beat them by 30, but it's a different Wisconsin team this time of year. And then they have Ohio State, Penn State, and they close out the regular season, not only with Nebraska on the 8th, but they play number 1 Michigan on March 5th before the end of the Big Ten regular season play. So Iowa, they are a team that this stretch means a lot to them. This is almost like a must win in some shape or form over the next 4 to 5 weeks for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, it's a season-defining stretch for them in a lot of ways. I think they're pretty safe in the NCAA tournament right now. But you look at who they've beat in Big Ten play, the best win they have so far probably came back their first game of the year when they beat UCLA at home at Carver Hawkeye. Tripped up in the barn where Nebraska found a way to find a win as a ranked team. Iowa did go to Assembly Hall and win, like you mentioned, but between the Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin games all coming up, a couple games of reprieve, and then a tough start to March with Michigan and Nebraska, there's a lot of opportunities here for Iowa to improve that resume. And that's, again, why I think it's so dangerous for Nebraska. Coming off a butt kicking that Purdue handed them, I was going to take it personally. I think Ben McCollum's a really good coach. Maybe holding the Hawkeyes back a little bit, though, Nick, is just how much they rely on a guy like Bennett Sturtz, right? What's different between Iowa and Purdue, there's plenty of differences, but for as many headlines as Braden Smith gets, he's not the only guy. Bennett Sturtz has been taking as many shots himself as the rest of Iowa's team for a couple weeks now. And that's fine when it works. But for all the conversations we've had about Nebraska's depth, how they need to improve it, how they need to find ways to get guys more minutes, Iowa needs to find ways to get guys more shots in rhythm. Again, if you look at the Ken Pomeroy numbers, get Bennett Sturtz and Tavion Banks as quote-unquote major contributors. You have Alvaro Folgueras, who is still one of my favorite fit transfers. He's been coming off the bench for them, only got 1 start this year. And then they have a bunch of role guys below that who just haven't done what Iowa's needed them to do. Cooper Cook has been fine, shooting about 38% from 3. Tate Sage in a limited role is shooting 40% from 3. And the thing I think that makes Iowa scary is that their tempo is so slow that, number one, they can get away with such a high usage rate for Bennett Sturts because they play, decent enough team defense and they're pretty methodical, right? They'll run all sorts of actions, not just mismatch hunting the way Illinois was to get Keaton Wagler a matchup. It's a little bit different how Iowa ends up going about it. But, Iowa needs some other guy to step up. And that's where, if you're Nebraska, you focus the bulk of your efforts on stopping Bennett Sturts, right? How do we bother him? How do we get into his passing lanes? He can take over a game scoring, but he's also one of those guys that is more than happy to make the right pass at the right time. We've seen Nebraska be able to take the ball out of the hands of some guards, but we've also seen role players step up and beat Nebraska in years past. That's a lot of what it was down the stretch last year. Nebraska was pretty good against the Stars for the most part, with only a couple of exceptions. But then other guys, from other teams, the role players stepped up and made shots, whereas Nebraska's didn't. So I think that there's a real challenge on Nebraska's hands to keep Iowa, down in its feelings a little bit after the back-to-back losses against a rebuilding Maryland team and a Purdue team that seems to be finding its groove the same way maybe Illinois was a couple of weeks ago. But this is, like you said, the start of that stretch. Bennett Sturts, thinking about his legacy at Iowa. He'll only be here 1 year before he goes to the NBA draft, showing out against a couple good guard defenders like Sam Hoiberg and Jamarcus Lawrence. Everyone's going to take this challenge personally, and I think it should make for a pretty darn good game.
Yeah, Sturts averaging 20 a game, and the rest of the team around a little bit over 50 combined. So he is the guy for Iowa's offense going forward. Price Sanford, I think he's the conversation of the day. A lot of people saying Sam Hoiberg's MVP, and respectfully so, because he shows out not only on the rebounding, but on the hustle plays and whatnot. Price had 6 3-pointers against Northwestern on Saturday, enters Tuesday's game at Iowa, 1 3-pointer shy of tying the single season record for 3-pointers made in a season at Nebraska. I think it's kind of full circle moment. We can tie and break the record at Iowa, which is a very, ironic situation. Like, who would have thought that's how the schedule would play out for a guy like that, and how he would be able to hit so many threes and consistently throughout the year. And then all falls down to February 17th, where he can break it at Iowa.
Man, can you imagine if he would have hit 1 or 2 more against Illinois or Michigan, though, and already have the record in hand? This kind of feels like our Nebraska equivalent of Steph Curry going to set the all-time 3-point record in Madison Square Garden, right? He's just chucking and chucking until he gets it. I think Nebraska and Price Sanford are mature enough to hunt the good shots, right, and not just give Price his moment, feed him until he does it. I think Nebraska is good enough, mature enough, and honestly can't afford to waste possessions hunting that record because of the way Iowa plays. Nebraska averages about 67 possessions per game, which is, below average in the country in terms of tempo. Iowa, one of the slowest teams in the country. And this is where I think we talked about it on post game, but Iowa playing at 63.3 possessions per game, 350th out of 365 teams. I think they're the second slowest team in the Big Ten, about half a possession per game higher than only Minnesota in the Big Ten Conference. That's what worried me a little bit about Nebraska coming out of Northwestern, was just how careless and sloppy they were with the ball. And that's where, again, I think it's important for Nebraska to get off to a hot start, because just like Iowa football, right? Iowa basketball will play like an anaconda. They're not going to be a cobra. They're not going to be a viper where they, strike really quick in the blink of an eye. That's not how they're built. They're going to suffocate you. They're going to out-execute you in the half court. That comes from Ben McCollum's time at the D2 level in the Missouri Valley Conference, where, he had, good athletes for the level, but not blowing anyone away by any means. So they had to value the basketball every single possession. And you're seeing that again with this team. That's where you look at what Minnesota did right at the barn, getting out to the lead they did. It's a little harder for Iowa to come back than some other teams just because of how slow they play. Iowa thrives in close games. They thrive when you let them get out to a lead early, and then they can be as methodical as they want. So for Nebraska, the first 4 to 6 minutes of each half are going to be key. And, stop, score, stop goes a long way, right? Iowa can shoot it pretty well from 3. They don't take many of them just because of how slow they play. But the more you let Iowa, extend, it's that battle of attrition we talk about in football all the time. They might not score much, it won't seem like it. But if you don't score, you're giving the ball away. Iowa's just going to bleed 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there, 27 seconds here, 25 seconds there. Oh, there goes another 29. And before you know it, it's a 17-13 game with 10 minutes to go in the first half. You're like, whoa, where'd the time go? Valuing the basketball, making sure to maximize your possessions by finishing as many of them as possible with points, or Nick, finding ways to create more possessions. I mean, Nebraska with double-digit offensive rebounds against Northwestern, something we haven't really seen from Nebraska so far this year. Either Nebraska is going to have to be really good with the one possession that it gets, or Nebraska needs to find ways to create extra possessions against a team that doesn't want to give them many.
In Nebraska, 49 points allowed on Saturday. That is the lowest Nebraska has allowed in Big Ten play under Fred Hoiberg. The others came against Iowa in 2022-23, Penn State 2023-24, and then Michigan last year in that grinded out game. This is Nebraska, everyone talked about the rebounding. Nebraska needs to rebound better. It's easy to point that out when you're losing games to set Illinois, Michigan, and Purdue. Nebraska 40-24 on Saturday, and they dominated the boards from there. Second half, obviously kind of burned the tape in that first half, 28-27. Wasn't the prettiest half. Everybody will admit that. But the second half was able to just go out there and wipe the slate clean and go out and gather momentum. So Nebraska with momentum going into tonight against Iowa State. Austin, what are you looking for out of Nebraska before we go to break? What do you think some keys to them here against Iowa? Just in a quick notes that you think they need to be successful out there, because it's a dangerous place. Nebraska slipped up there before.
Yeah, it's happened time and again to Nebraska. The last time I was at Carver Hawkeye was Duke's big comeback against North Carolina. Back in those horrible uniforms. It was the Wendell Moore and Trey Jones kind of game. So I'm hoping for no dramatics like that out of Nebraska, right? I'm looking for a fast start. I'm looking for Nebraska to match and exceed the energy of the crowd, take them out of the building early. I'm looking for consistency in the three-point shooting in both halves. I don't think this is a game where if Nebraska goes 2 for 16 in the first half, maybe they'll be able to get away with going, 10 for 19 in the second half or what have you. But Iowa can shoot it well enough from three as a team that I don't think Nebraska can afford a half where it shoots in the teens or 20s in terms of percentage from three, unless the defense is that good. I want to see Nebraska make Bennett Sturts earn every inch. I want to see Nebraska connected and talking on role players. Iowa will do what other teams have done, try to get the ball into the middle of the floor against Nebraska's no middle defense. So the keys for Nebraska, I think, are always the same, right? It's the little things, it's communication, it's get a body, it's not allow second possessions, and it's take care of the basketball. Add, average or better three-point shooting on top of it like normal. That's the formula.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. It's going to sneak up here real quick. A couple hours out. You're heading down there. What time? What's the game plan for this afternoon for you? What's the game plan after you get off the show here at 6 o'clock?
So Iowa is a little different than Nebraska. It only opens up the media will call an hour and a half before the game. So Nick Sander and I will head down there around 6:30 or so. Probably do some pregame videos and whatnot. Thanks to the great sponsors that make it possible for us to take these trips. We'll grab a bite of dinner. It's actually a complimentary dinner at our hotel. So we'll go get some chicken Alfredo, baked potatoes, and veggies, I think is the game plan down in the lobby, and head over to Carver Hawkeye from there.
That sounds good. But we're going to take a break. We're going to shift over to Nebraska baseball, Nebraska softball. Nebraska baseball coming home with 3 wins from Arizona. Nebraska softball knocking off another number one team in the nation. We'll be back here, Old School 90.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Hey, Nebraska, this is your moment. Love Nebraska is already making noise on the court, but they're still missing one thing, a nickname. That's where you come in. Love Nebraska is giving fans the chance to submit the team's official nickname. Fans will then vote on the finalists later this season. Head to lovebneb.com/nameyourteam to submit your nickname and get in the game. Submissions end on February 22nd. Name your team, shape the legacy.
Planet Fitness has everything you need anytime the motivation hits, so you can give everything you've got. With most clubs open 24 hours, you've got access to our best-in-class equipment to tackle early morning reps, late-night miles, and every workout in between. Join the club today and save $28 or more when you join for just $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends February 27th. You ready? Planet Fitness. We're all strong on this planet. See club for details.
Husker Nation, your perfect softball plan is here. With the flexible Husker Softball On Deck deal, you choose the action. For just $38, pick any 4 games plus 1 from the can't-miss Iowa series. Build your own schedule, catch your favorite matchups, and cheer on the Huskers your way all season long. But don't wait, these mini plans won't last. Visit huskers.com/tickets and make your own mini plan today. Go Big Red.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins'. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Looking for something fun tonight? Axe throwing, local beer, and great vibes are waiting at Arbor Axe House. From casual nights out to celebrations and team events, it all starts here. Reserve a lane today at arboraxe.com. Arbor Axe House at the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
Looking to get a room downtown or near South Lincoln? Abe Lincoln would tell you no to the Ford Theater and yes to Lincoln Hotel. Save up to 40% off downtown Lincoln prices with a nice clean room and comfortable stay. Lincoln Hotel is locally owned and offers a day pass to the city's largest locally owned gym, Good Life Fitness. Long-term stays are available. You can learn more about pricing and book your Lincoln Hotel stay today at staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. That's staylnk.com or call 402-600-0565. Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future one week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O.
Back to old school with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
And we're back, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Old school, Austin Norman with Nick Wyman here, back at 1040 O Street in the capital city, Austin. From the hotel room, getting ready to gear up for some Nebraska basketball against the Iowa Hawkeyes. 8 o'clock tip-off. You'll get 10 o'clock post-game coverage here on The Ticket. As always, after every game. Austin, Nebraska basketball, not the only thing going on. Nebraska baseball, starting up the season. You were there. You were there for all four games. Every single inning down in Scottsdale in the Arizona area. I guess just general thoughts over that weekend down there for not only yourself, but what you saw front and center for Nebraska baseball over the course of those four games.
Yeah, big picture, I mean, 3-1 is an unmitigated success for Nebraska. Unqualified, don't need to say anything else. Going 3-1 in a tournament like that is big. I don't think that Nebraska baseball is headed to a world where any of those 3 wins age maybe like this year's basketball Oklahoma win or Kansas State win. I think it was a good tune-up for a weekend that's probably going to be even tougher coming up with a couple few ranked teams down there in Arlington at Globe Life Field. So heck of a start to the year for Nebraska. Offense, I mean, you score 34 runs in 4 games. That's pretty darn good. I thought for the most part, the offense did a really good job of responding. Right, in baseball, it's really important for pitchers and for an offense to see that when you allow some runs, the best offenses respond right away. They don't let the other team, stack zeros after they score. That's what you're going for. Nebraska did a really good job the first 3 games of finding ways to scratch a run or 2 across, which is where it's a little bit of a letdown yesterday when Novacek allows the 6 runs in the first inning. Nebraska gets a couple guys on in the first, not able to do anything with it. Nebraska gets a couple guys on in the second, not able to do anything with it. And I know it ended up a 5-run ball game, and a run here or there, probably doesn't make a big difference in the game. But if you think about the butterfly effect, the ripple effect, how different is that game? If Nebraska is able to come back in the bottom of the first and bottom of the second, and maybe it's a 6-3 game after 2, you hang in there, right? You're just a bloop and a blast away. I thought there were a couple moments there where Nebraska had some momentum. I didn't like Josh Overby bunting to start an inning after he had a double and a single in his last 2 at-bats, a pitcher that had given up a few runs to cut it to 9-6, and you give yourself up to start an inning. I didn't like that decision. But other than that, I thought Nebraska, outside of, 1, maybe 2 guys, had pretty darn good approaches at the plate. I thought Nebraska hung tough, didn't strike out on 3 pitches very often. There was some strikeout involved for the Huskers, but I really liked what they were doing offensively. Defensively, I thought Nebraska was fine, pretty clean weekend. Yasa had a throwing error that kind of got, who would that have been? Would have been Northeastern off the hook a little bit after he started rolling. Jet Buck's throwing error yesterday. He had to rush the throw against a speedy runner. Not too concerned about that. My one thing on the mound for Nebraska is their pitch counts got elevated. They didn't have that put away strikeout stuff this weekend, right? I mean, Yasa ends up with 9 strikeouts, a career high, and 7 of them in a row at one point. But Nebraska wasn't able to get guys out on 3 or 4 pitches very often. And that's going to be big for Nebraska as it tries to fill out its back end of the bullpen depth. Ty Horn needs to be able to find ways to polish hitters off, drive that pitch count down. His got elevated. There's a reason that he didn't go 5 innings, because he got guys to 2 strikes and just couldn't quite locate or find the put away pitch. He also was hit or miss in that regard. Gavin Blackowitz, similar sort of story there. So Nebraska did a pretty darn good job of throwing strikes over the weekend. They were pretty aggressive early in counts, which was good. Just find ways to put guys away a little sooner. The other, kind of problem spot for Nebraska, I think, will be, who are the midweek starters. We won't see that for a couple weeks yet. We'll find out. And Kevin Monell wasn't exactly lights out, the transfer from Mississippi State. He struggled in his first appearance, got out of it without giving up a run, and then got touched up for a couple yesterday against Stanford when Nebraska called on him to really put that game, away in terms of limiting Stanford's bats. He wasn't able to do it. He gives up a couple of runs, which is not what you're looking for out of the back end of your bullpen. Didn't look like he had his command or his control working for him. And so it's his first 2 appearances of the year. Not overly concerned, not overly worried, but something to monitor. If that's supposed to be your back end guy and he doesn't have it, can he transition to being the setup guy? And then who steps up behind him? I'm not saying that's a conversation for right now, but I think this weekend in Dallas against better competition, you want to see Kevin Monell pack better stuff. The next weekend coming up against Auburn is going to be big. And then when you get into midweeks in conference play, you got to be able to have that guy in the back end of your bullpen that you can feel like the game's over. Once you get it to, the 7th inning, you have your setup guy, you have your closer. If Monell can come in for 4 or 5 outs, that goes a long way. Just definitely going to want to see some more from him.
I think my biggest takeaway is Nebraska didn't have a sleepy, start to the season. We've seen Nebraska go into some of these first couple weeks of the seasons and they drop some games that are close and end up with a 2-2 record or a 1-3 record, but it is a long season. and a 3-1 start, taking 3 wins away from Arizona against some quality teams. UConn has been the regular season champ in the Big East for several years. They have a veteran head coach. They've won 34 plus games every season since 2021. Northeastern's a team that's really good in their conference, really good come regional time. They are a team that gives teams fits come regional time. Grand Canyon's Grand Canyon. They're pretty much in their backyard for the MLB Desert Invitational, literally in their backyard. And then Stanford's been in the College World Series a number of years, and they're competitive whether you're in the Pac-10, the Pac-12, or the ACC conference. So taking 3 wins from there was you tip your cap and you move on. And like you said, this next weekend, go down to Arlington, Texas. You got a ranked team in Louisville. You got a team like Florida State. Those are 2 teams, baseball teams that are baseball programs that are up and running all the time. Every year they are nearly hosting regionals and super regionals, or they are a 2 seed in that, or they're competitive in their conference, whether it be in the ACC conference. And then you throw in K-State, who Nebraska has played a number of times over the year, even before they were in the Big 12, before that. And now you have that game listed on a Saturday primetime game. So the weekend in Arlington is very exciting. And then don't look too far. The series against Auburn, the grind does not stop. That is quite the schedule to begin the year. But you'd rather play that than just a bunch of easy wins, because these are the games that will help build a resume come tournament time.
It's all about building a resume, and the best way to do that is with wins, right? I mean, quality losses, sure. You want to play good competition. You get some brownie points for playing tough teams and scheduling tough. But the fact that Nebraska is able to go 3-1, if Nebraska is able to go, 2-1 each of the next 2 weekends, to be sitting there at 7-3, that's probably best case scenario for Nebraska. If you can go 1-2 and 2-1 and get to 6-4, that's still really good. 5-5, okay, mixed bag. Maybe let a little bit of the juice slip from opening weekend. But Nebraska's got to find a way, I think, to win 2 or 3 of the next 6 games at a bare minimum, especially after the excitement. We'll see if the bats hold up against presumably better pitching. We'll see if the pitching holds up against presumably better bats. But when you outscore your opponents 34-18 on a weekend, and you give up 11 of those runs in one game, and you still had a fighting chance to win it, I think there's plenty to be excited about regarding this Husker baseball team, because it is tough for these northern teams sometimes to come out and play their best baseball at the beginning of the year like this. But you see Nebraska go 3-1. You see Michigan have a pretty wildly successful opening weekend across the desert in surprise as well. I think it's good for the Big Ten Conference. I think it's really good for college baseball that the hegemony of Southern baseball gets, the chance to show some cracks, that other teams show that, hey, we're legit too. Take us seriously. And the fact that it's Nebraska, the fact that it's Michigan, 2 of the, more established brands in Big Ten baseball, for whatever that's worth, I think that's a really good sign for the league.
Thinking of 6-4, you said 6-4. Nebraska softball 6-4 right now. The record doesn't, jump off the page, but you look at the quality wins. You got wins over Texas a week ago in San Antonio after losing to them 15-10 in a high-scoring affair. They're ranked number 1 at the time. You have a win over LSU, shut out LSU, another really good softball program, a team who's hosted a super regional and regional in recent memory. You have a win over Texas Tech, another number 1 team in the nation, has been knocked off. And Nebraska kind of grinded that one out. You're trailing, and then Jesse Farrell, the UNLV transfer catcher, hits a home run, and then Nebraska takes advantage in a low-scoring 3-2 win. Nebraska softball, building a resume. Nebraska softball, first 2 weekends, you have wins over LSU, Washington, Texas, and Texas Tech. I mean, there's no better. I mean, you do have the loss to Tennessee. Tennessee's kind of been the thorn in the side for Nebraska softball in the past year, not even the last year, the past couple of months ago back in May in super regional time. But still, you have wins over Texas and Texas Tech, who are women's College World Series caliber teams. You're beating them. A win's a win in my book, and you're beating some of the best in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, splitting with a team like Texas, right? If you view that as, say, a super regional, okay, it all comes down to game 3 or game 7 in a regional, right? Can you find a way to be better for 21 outs? For example, finding a way to come back the next weekend and beat, in most people's minds, the best pitcher in the sport in Najari Kennedy. Huge. That's awesome, right? You split with a borderline top 25 team in your conference in Washington. Okay, no harm, no foul there on that one. The loss to Georgia, not great, but again, you showed some fight in coming back. You beat LSU in the game that we didn't get to see last year in the Baton Rouge regional. And Tennessee's really good. There's a reason they're the number 1 team in the sport right now, right? Carlin Pickens is still throwing heat. But for Nebraska to come back from that kind of deflating Tennessee loss in back-to-back losses with Georgia, and the weekend with a couple of wins, right? Dominate a pretty solid UCF team and then squeak one out against Texas Tech. I mean, for the first time ever, you get back-to-back extra base hits off Najari Kennedy. No other team in college softball has done that. And it's been with a balanced effort, right? I mean, obviously, Jordy Fromm's going to get a bunch of the headlines. But for Nebraska to be able to do this without Ava Kuzak really getting going at all, I mean, she's just 5 for 31 this year. You're getting good contributions from Hannah Kamenson. Yet again, Jessie Farrell has been pretty good in her 9 games played as well. You look as well, Jessie Farrell, obviously, the big game against Texas Tech. You know, it's up and down the lineup, and that's where I think Nebraska can be really dangerous, is that, you know, you can go to Jordy Fromm on the mound, she'll shut teams down. Alexis Jensen, let's not forget, got that start against Texas Tech, limited them really well. And that's what I said before the year. Can Nebraska softball find that dependable number 2? Kamenson and Kylie McGee were okay last year, pretty good. But as we saw, they just didn't quite have enough in the tank to get Nebraska through a super regional against a team like Tennessee. Nebraska having a dependable number 2, a dependable number 3 to go to save some innings on Jordy Fromm's arm for when it matters most. You want her on the mound as much as you can. She's still dominant there. Got rocked a little bit in one start, but then for her to come back and fire 3 shutout innings for the save against Texas Tech shows you that you don't have to worry about her, right? A rough outing, she'll be able to bounce back. Can those other pitchers in the rotation in the bullpen find ways to pick Jordy Fromm up? Can the offense continue to lengthen in terms of the depth of the lineup? Nebraska's in a really good position. You know, 7-3, 8-2 would have been quite a sight for this team, but 2 incredibly tough opening weekends, and for Nebraska to come out of it with not just a winning record, but I think the respect of a lot of people nationally that, okay, last year's team wasn't a fluke. They're going to follow it up. They're going to be a player in this thing to the very end, whether that's Oklahoma City or, at least a super regional.
And yeah, they have a bunch of players around Jordy Fromm. It's not just one player carrying a team. Alexis Jensen, a great true freshman coming in and facing the best of the best, pitching it for Gretna, just down the road here in the Omaha Metro, winning state titles with the Gretna Dragons, and being able to compete at a high level and being asked, like, hey, you're a true freshman. You're going to be going up against the best of the best. Jordy Fromm's there, but you are being asked to go against the Texas Techs. You're being asked to go against the Texas, the Washingtons. And the moment's not too big for her. I think that is a huge bright spot, especially this early in the season, because it's, February 17th and Nebraska's 6-4, but you have complimentary players. You have the Kamensons. Ava Kuzak, like you said, has not gotten going, but she is one of Nebraska's best hitters, and there's a reason she's at the top of the lineup. Jessie Farrell has been a story coming from UNLV, has been a spark plug for the offense and come up in big moments. So there's a lot of hype and a lot of expectation because of how Nebraska finished last year, falling a game short of the Women's College World Series. But they also have another test this weekend, going to Cathedral City, California, playing another tournament. They're playing number 13 South Carolina right off the bat. So the schedule does not get lighter, and this is the grind of the season. These first 3 weeks, it's early in the season, Austin, but you build a lot off these games, and then they'll play other teams throughout that weekend, and then soon you know it, first home games are coming up here beginning in March.
I can only imagine the atmosphere at Bolton Stadium once the weather gets a little bit nice, right? We know they added the metal bleachers, right, for the Jordy Fromm effect, and it went really well, right? Really good attendance for Nebraska softball last year. I don't think that novelty will have worn off because this Nebraska softball team might even be better than last year, right? It's probably too early for me to call that right now, but 6-4 through 2 weekends, another big tournament coming up here. There should be a lot of excitement around, both Husker bat and ball sports with the way they're starting off. I think they're filled with plenty of star power, plenty of names that returners. But, like we've talked about with Nebraska basketball, I think they're 2 teams that play the right way, however you want to define that. They're easy to root for. Seems like they're good groups, and they're winning games early, which is always good for fan engagement.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. A lot of things going on in Huskerland. I'm going to get out of here for now. Harrison is going to come out of the bullpen. We're making a call to the bullpen, get the manager in here, leave the ball from me, or whatever you want to call it. But I'll be back later tonight. You and Nick sticking around for postgame, I'd assume, at 10 o'clock? Or are you guys What's going on there with that situation?
We have yet to determine officially, but my guess is, without trying to put Nick Sainert on the spot, is that he would begin post game while I go hear from Fred Hoiberg players and potentially Ben McCollum as well, and then I'll do my normal thing and jump on after that. Don't hold me to it, don't hold him to it, but I would assume that is the plan for 10 o'clock ish tonight.
There's the game plan. The blueprint has been laid. Safe travels to you guys. We'll speak with you guys later tonight. Hour 3 of Old School Harrison Arn is going to carry you through with Austin Norman. We'll be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Hey, Nebraska, this is your moment. Love Nebraska is already making noise on the court, but they're still missing one thing, a nickname. That's where you come in. Love Nebraska is giving fans the chance to submit the team's official nickname. Fans will then vote on the finalists later this season. Head to lovneb.com/nameyourteam to submit your nickname and get in the game. Submissions end on February 22nd. Name your team, shape the legacy.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies. It'll be windy and warm. Afternoon high near 77. Tonight, a chance of rain early. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies. A low around 41. And tomorrow, we'll see increasing clouds throughout the day with a light breeze. And a high near 65. I'm meteorologist Kyle Flecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
For remote starters, audio upgrades, and more, there's only one place to go. Auto Sounds of Lincoln at 48th and O. Bundle up, bring your crew, and make this winter one for the books with Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st at Beer House. Enjoy winter brews that will tangle with your taste buds, polka dancing, games like Hammerschlagen and Stein Stamina, and more. Bach beer will be flowing, and sausages and pretzels will be available for purchase. Doors open at 11 a.m. and the party goes outside until 6 p.m. before moving inside. VIP tickets are $75, but just $10 gets you in the door. Buy your tickets today at beerhousene.com for Bachfest on Saturday, February 21st.
It's seafood season at Amigos. Time to get that one-of-a-kind crisp crab rangoon burrito and dip it in some sweet chili sauce. There's a crab rangoon Frenchie, too. Enjoy grilled fish, grilled shrimp, or crispy fish tacos, wrapped in warm whole wheat tortillas, topped with pico de gallo, cabbage, and Amigos Chipotle mayo sauce. From jumbo shrimp baskets or fish and chips to fish tacos, there's something for everyone. You'll love the bold, fresh flavors of seafood at Amigos. Amigos is serving up a brand new way to score the bold, fresh flavors you love with 8 affordable value meals. At $5 and $6, these meals are easy on the wallet, so treat yourself anytime. Sink into the new 3-cheese melt or taco melt, both stacked with crave-worthy flavor in every bite. There's crunchy taquito dippers, too, perfect for dunking in Amigos' famous ranch or spicy cheese. Big flavor, small price. Value meals at Amigos.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
You started your business to build something special. Now it's time to grow and protect it. At Pinnacle Bank, our treasury management services help you do just that. Through smarter payment technology, account administration, and fraud protection. So no matter the size of your business, you can get the most out of your financial operations. Request your free consultation at pinbank.com/consult. Pinnacle Bank, the way banking should be. Member FDIC.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth. 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
93.7 The Ticket Sports News go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. Nebraska men's basketball travels to Iowa to battle the Hawkeyes on the hardwood. Following a 68-49 victory over Northwestern this past Saturday, the Cornhuskers face Iowa for the first time this season. The game between the Cornhuskers and Hawkeyes can be seen on the Big Ten Network with tip-off set for 8 p.m. Central Time. Nebraska baseball capped off opening weekend of the 2026 season with a 3-1 record in Arizona. The Cornhuskers collected wins over UConn, Northeastern, and Grand Canyon before dropping their first game of the campaign to Stanford by a score of 11-6 on Monday. Nebraska plays this Friday, February 20th against Louisville in Arlington, Texas. First pitch between the Cornhuskers and the Cardinals is scheduled for 3 p.m. Major League Baseball Players Association Executive Director Tony Clark resigned amid federal investigation Tuesday, leaving the union without its longtime leader less than a year before the expiration of MLB's collective bargaining agreement. The resignation comes in wake of the Eastern District of New York's ongoing investigation into the finances and other dealings of the MLBPA. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln, this is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped. It's picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln. Your tire store next door with 4 Lincoln locations. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Old School. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. You're getting the full arsenal of the Ticket crew here on a beautiful Tuesday, February 17th. You guys are always welcome to join in. 402-464-5685. Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo Channel 961. All great ways to tune in. We got our guy Austin Orman streaming in as he's getting ready for a great game. Should be a great game with Nebraska on the road facing the Iowa Hawkeyes. Austin, man, how's it going?
You know, living the dream, right? Just made it out of Scottsdale, about what it would be now. Left there about 20 some hours. Yeah, math is hard, right? But it's been a wild ride. It's been a fun ride though. Made it to Iowa City, all safe and sound. Looking forward to what should be a fantastic and meaningful basketball game coming up here in about 3 hours.
Yeah, and I don't want to beat the horse too much on hoops. It is a big story. I'm glad that we're talking about it, but I'm sure you guys have covered it plenty. Not just the past couple hours, but throughout the entire course of the day here. So, Austin Orman, I'll turn the table. I'll let you kick things off where you want to guide this conversation.
Yeah, let's talk some Tyreek Hill, Harrison. Not a shock necessarily that he gets released by the Miami Dolphins. Really, the question is, where does he go next? This is a guy at age 31 coming off a big injury that signed at one point the most guaranteed money for a skill player in NFL history. Of course, had his 4-year extension in 2022, restructured it in 2024, $106.5 million guaranteed. No guaranteed money coming into this year. Still would have had a cap hit of right around $51 million. ESPN is saying that they cut him now instead of designated him as a post-June 1st release, essentially to pay off their credit card bill early. Right, a Miami team that doesn't really have, or new executive branch with a new GM and a new head coach that doesn't really have any ties to Tyreek Hill, who was a big part of what Miami wanted to do, was one of the best receivers in the sport still after he moved on from Kansas City in 22 and 23 with Miami. A little bit less production in 24, and then the dislocated kneecap and ACL injury in 2025. Tyreek Hill, Harrison, I think still holds some value for some NFL teams. I think he'll get a pretty good contract. But I'll ask you this to begin with. how much is left in the tank for a speed guy like Tyreek Hill coming off an injury at 31? Do you still think he's going to be, worth any potential drama and headaches for a team? Or do you think we're going to be maybe surprised by how little he gets in terms of his free agency contract?
I will say I still think he's got some sauce to him. I think he's a good enough athlete. But to your point, if he does come back and say he's lost a couple of steps, that's brutal for a guy that plays the way he does. The best analogy I can make is if everyone remembers Kemba Walker in the NBA, once he lost that step, he went from one of the best guards in the NBA to just sliding in a hurry, and all his minutes were starting to kind of get sucked up by some of the role players, and he just fell off that peak really quickly. So with Tyreek Hill, that's the risk you got to figure out, because if he loses that step, we've all seen the plays, right, where he catches it and he's running around backwards for a little bit, just looking for the angle. If he doesn't have that same speed, well, all of a sudden those amazing highlight reel plays turn into really questionable losses for that Dolphins team. But the reason why I still think he's got a shot is when you look at what they had, when everyone was healthy and Tua was looking like going to be one of the next best quarterbacks out there, and they had Waddle and then obviously Tyreek Hill, and then that tandem, one of the best offenses. And then ever since then, obviously with all the Tua injuries, there just hasn't been a lot of momentum in that place outside the run game. So it was tough to really grade him when the quarterback situation was so questionable. And then even offensively, even when Waddle was playing, he was always kind of injury prone himself with back issues. So it's easy for teams to just highlight on Tyreek Hill. And then, of course, the injury happens. But I'd still be willing to put a stake. If it's worth the squeeze, if he's not demanding too much money, I think you put him on a good roster, he's still got some left in him.
No, I tend to agree. And you think about, this from the Miami angle first. I mean, he's 31 coming off an injury. That kind of hits exactly in the big contract, right? It's exactly the type of guy that teams are looking to cut, even if, like you said, there is still some juice in the tank there. In terms of the other team picking up the money, it's a $28 million dead cap hit for Miami. So other teams should be off the hook for that because it's not a trade, right? They cut him, they released him. So it's not like they're trading him, which I'm sure they were looking for suitors, but hard to trade a guy, especially known for his speed coming off injuries like that. But Harrison, I think what leads me to believe that there's still more in the tank for Tyreek Hill is that he was fast enough that even if he loses 10% of his speed, he's still got, elite or borderline elite speed for an NFL receiver. And he's always been more than just a deep threat, right? I don't think he'll ever be used as creatively, as he was in Kansas City, but on the sneak, Tyreek Hill was one of the better jump ball receivers, even though he's not overwhelming in terms of the size. I mean, he's listed at 5'10", 190, but that's a guy, if you get him matched up one-on-one, he could go get it over a bigger, longer, stronger cornerback. He's got good hands. He's got good timing on his jumps. He pretty much always has. So I think that that's a guy that obviously we'll talk about the speed deteriorating as he continues to get older. We'll see what it's like when he comes off an injury, but I think there's more in the bag, so to say, for Tyreek Hill in terms of a well-rounded skill set that, he can't find a way to carve out a career. And the two guys that I ran a versus finder comparison for on StatHead were Deshaun Jackson and Steve Smith. Steve Smith ended up playing 16 years in the NFL, not a Hall of Famer quite yet, 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. Deshaun Jackson ended up playing 15 years in the league, 3-time Pro Bowler, and a Super Bowl champ. If you look at games played, obviously Tyreek Hill's only played 10 seasons and one of them cut short by injury, so he's way behind on games played. He's already the second in approximate value, about 20 points behind Steve Smith and 20 points up on Deshaun Jackson. He's 200 catches-ish and about 3,400 yards behind Steve Smith, but he's already got more catches, more yards than Deshaun Jackson and more touchdowns than either Steve Smith or Deshaun Jackson, just as a receiver, right? If you look at the stat finder that I have, Tyreek Hill had the most rushing attempts and rushing touchdowns, whatever. Steve Smith was one of the better returners of his day. Tyreek Hill did that for a while, but he has about half the number of punt returns for a little over half the yards that Steve Smith did already. A Pro Bowler as many times himself as those two guys were combined. More All-Pro nods than either of those two guys combined. And he got the Super Bowl like Deshaun Jackson that Steve Smith never did. That's why I give Tyreek Hill the chance to maybe surpass Steve Smith in terms of the career, because he's not just the downfield threat. Obviously, that's what he leverages. But I do think when it's all said and done, if Tyreek Hill is able to keep his head screwed on straight, get back to football and, limit the drama as best he can, I think this is a guy that could still have another, 4, 5, 6 years left in the tank, get those counting stats. I mean, I think he's a Hall of Famer, even with the off the field stuff already. But man, if he's able to surpass the Steve Smith numbers with the All Pros, with the Pro Bowls, with the Super Bowl ring in Kansas City and how important he was to that team, I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is an inner circle Hall of Famer, but I think he would be a second or third ballot type of guy, as it stands right now.
Yeah, as it stands right now, certainly. And then if he does come back and he starts putting up numbers, and I think the best point you made was, even if it's not 100% of what he used to be, he was so far a lot of those other guys in terms of his speed and agility that you're still going to get some good use out of him. And he's going to be putting up those numbers. So I'll tell you what do you think the best or the suitors will be? Like, which teams are going to be hopping in the mix, being the most hungry to try to get a Tyreek Hill?
Man, I could see him in a lot of different places because of how well-rounded his skill set is. A reunion with Kansas City, who needs some receiver help, I could see. Not sold on it. It's rarely as good the second time, so I don't know if that's the avenue I would go if I was Kansas City, but if everyone's comfortable with it, I could see that working out. You could look at a place like Buffalo that's been in need of receiver help with Tyreek Hill, do that to the Chiefs. I don't know. Maybe he'll follow the money. That is what it is. I've seen the Raiders thrown out there as a deep threat and a guy for Fernando Mendoza, the presumptive number one. The Chargers, if Keenan Allen, departs as expected, would be an interesting one. The other one that I could see, Harrison, and you can tell me off if you don't like this idea, please do, is the Bears. If you don't like what Luther Burden gave you, if you think that you can get him at an affordable rate and pair him, in a rotational role with a guy like DJ Moore, or have that true down the field threat. I like Rome Odunze a lot. I like Luther Burden as kind of that gadget slot guy. DJ Moore is, maybe not a 1A in the NFL, but he can be a 1B. He's a really solid 2. I could see a role for Tyreek Hill if the Bears think that their window is now. Go all in, surround Caleb Williams with a skill guy like that. I don't know if I love it. I definitely don't hate it.
I'll tell you this right now. No, thank you. I think we'll pass on that. Luther Burden was exceptional, I thought, this year. And, in situations where you're looking there and you got no Rome Odunze, and you're like, all right, we got to really lean on Luther Burden here to step up. And every time he was asked to do so, he showed up in really big ways. He still got him on that rookie deal. If I'm the Bears, I wouldn't want to mess that up too much. And then I think with DJ Moore, there's a million guys. I think they'll probably use him to shore up that defense. The big one you keep seeing thrown out there is all the drama that Max Crosby had with the Raiders. Do they throw him and do a trade there? Maybe you throw in a pick as well, or a couple of picks. So I don't think the Bears are going to jump on that one, just because what they have right now at that young wide receiver core, it's pretty good. And you would be kind of shipping away what is look likely to be some great talent, young and early, for a guy that was great. We'll see if he still is.
Yeah, it was just a kind of harebrained idea that came to mind. If the Bears want to really load up and give Caleb Williams, all the options, my uncle, big Bears fan, chimes in and just says, no on the Bears. We're not doing that. Down the ballot options for me, San Francisco's always injured, especially the receiver position. They've been kind of decimated. Would Tyreek Hill fit in that Shanahan kind of system as the field stretcher? I could see it. Does New England go after a guy either to pair with Stephon Diggs or maybe to take over for him in some ways? I think that'd be a pretty nasty 1-2 punch in some regards. Atlanta, maybe on the opposite side of Drake London with a new head coach down there in Kevin Stefanski would intrigue me. I don't think Tampa, with Mike Evans still going, I think they have way too many young receivers. If Houston's healthy, they say no, but if they're going to be banged up potentially, would you pair Tyreek Hill with Cam Ward down there in Nashville? Give him that true number one. As a Colts fan, I hate it, but I think of those teams I mentioned, I could see San Francisco saying we need a guy like that. I could see Tennessee saying we'll take a guy like that, keep him in the AFC. So those would probably be the next two on my list.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disagree with any of those. I think there's going to be a legitimate interest where Tyreek Hill and his agent, I'd imagine, will work a pretty lucrative deal for him that obviously maybe doesn't match what he had prior, but there's a lot of teams. I know we got Cupsker thinking about the Pittsburgh Steelers as well.
Do you really want that after Antonio Brown, Cubsker? Do you really want that? You had Antonio Brown. You had George Pickens. Like, do you really want that? Do you really need that? I see why you'd want it, but I also don't think Tyreek Hill is necessarily a slot guy. I know his size at 5'10" leads you to believe that, but Tyreek Hill has done his best work outside, again, because of his more well-rounded skill set. I'm not sure that Tyreek Hill is one of those guys that, especially this stage in his career, is all that willing to put his body on the line over the middle in the modern NFL. So I see what you're saying, Cubsker. I just don't know if I see that one necessarily.
Yeah, I don't see it necessarily with the Pittsburgh Steelers either. And to your point, I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be super eager to go jump on that one. They got enough issues on their own. Adding a Tyreek Hill in the mix isn't going to fix those issues. A lot of these teams in here, to your point, I know when you threw in the Chicago Bears, I think you're going to be talking about teams that are looking for that just extra little bit of push that can take them over the top. So those are the suitors. So Chiefs, obviously, I think that is the conversation, and we can keep going through those names. But I do want to get some NBA before we run out of time here, because, boy, I'll tell you what, it's not looking great for Adam Silver out there. I'll say this real quick, because I don't know where you stand on Adam Silver. I've said this a few years ago, so this isn't anything new. As bad as we thought David Stern was, Adam Silver might be one of the worst commissioners in the NBA. And I truly do believe that. Like, I just think the product's getting worse and worse. If you're sitting in here, I'd ask him, I'd tell him the same thing. And if he can explain to me why things have changed so much, I'd be willing to listen. But man, it just feels like we take so many left turns. And obviously the All-Star game was kind of a dumpster fire. It doesn't really surprise anybody. And then, of course, you got the gambling getting more and more involved, and to the point where it's starting to leak into his press conferences, which never a good look.
First of all, watch your mouth. That's a Duke guy. Okay, now that's out of the way.
Now I double down on what I just said.
Now that's out of the way. I still don't know how much to blame Adam Silver. I don't know how much of this is on him for maybe being a little bit too permissive and being a little bit of a player's owner in some ways, versus the players doing this stuff, for themselves or to themselves, right? I'm going to push back. I still enjoy watching the NBA. I know it's not, your uncle or your grandpa's NBA where it's a grind fest. It's a slug fest. It's bloody. I understand all the whining about the stars and the injuries and the load management. Like, trust me, I understand it. But there's just something about watching dudes put the ball in the bucket when they run their sets really well and you see a guy getting on a heater. I still think the NBA is wildly entertaining. I don't get the chance to watch as much of it as I do, but I think if you even look at this All-Star weekend as a whole, three-point competition kind of came and went. Dame Lillard, three-time champ. It's him, Larry Legend, and Craig Hodges now as the three-time winners. That's pretty cool. Dunk contest has really devolved, right? I think that it's been surpassed by the MLB Home Run Derby. Now, I don't know the last time I sat down and watched an NBA dunk contest, in large part due to a lot of these stars sitting out, right? Even like those young up-and-coming stars, the one that gets referenced all the time is Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine, in the battles that they had in the dunk contest. Those are good players. Those are all-star players. They're not superstars. You need enough name recognition. You need enough people willing to take chances. And I'm not going to blame Adam Silver for these superstars and all-stars sitting this stuff out, right? They have other interests. Is it Adam Silver's job to nudge those guys into participating? Maybe, maybe not. Is it Adam Silver's job to get these guys to think about the future of the league and the TV ratings, and this would be really good for your personal brand? Yeah, maybe, maybe not. But I really did like the all-star format for the game, right? Because I do think that, you had the old heads for Team USA, you had the next wave of the up-and-comers, and then you had the world team, of course, without a Luka and without a Joker that would have made that event, over the top. But those were competitive one-quarter games. You saw Kawhi Leonard, go peak apex predator, which was absolutely incredible. You saw De'Aaron Fox end up hitting a game winner. You saw Anthony Edwards take over and tie the game for Team USA. You saw Cade Cunningham have moments, Jalen Duren have moments. I really liked what they did there. I think that was a really good format, spearheaded, in the player's own words, Harrison, by the alien, by Victor Wembanyama, right? Who won the opening tip, sprinted down to the block, got position, and dunked it to set the tone right away. Anthony Edwards gave him credit for it. Some other people gave Ant credit for matching Wemby's energy. And, that's where I don't think it's necessarily on Adam Silver to up the give a crap factor, either you have it or you don't, right? It's on the players at some point. They can't just say, well, the league's not pushing it, so, we're not going to try as hard as we want to, right? Sure. You have to have some form of incentive out there to try to get guys to play hard. But I think you look at Victor Wembanyama's case, he's just a killer, a straight cold-blooded killer that, has good perspective. And I think you need more dudes like that in the league. And that's something you either have or you don't, right? I don't think that's something that getting to the NBA will bring out of you. I think Victor Wembanyama has probably always been like this to some degree. And the fact that he's there and he continues to have that give a crap factor, the longer he's in the league playing like that, the longer he's in the league, with an open disdain for how Oklahoma City is playing and taking it personal every time those two teams match up. I think Victor Wembanyama can bring the best out of the NBA, because guys are going to have to change their game. Either they're going to roll over and play dead when Wemby reaches his peak, or they're going to have some pride and do something about it. And I think even if it's something as frivolous right now as an all-star game, you saw guys taking it more seriously. They gave credit to Victor Wembanyama. And I think that was a huge step in the right direction for the NBA. And my hope is that carries over and it's not just a one-time event. I hope that carries over for the rest of the regular season, and that guys, maybe rediscover some of that pride of being an NBA guy, of taking it seriously like it's the job, and, having that give a crap factor, because I think that's most people's biggest complaint with the league right now. I think the concerns of the product on the floor are a little bit overblown, even if I understand where they're coming from. And I really hope that what Wemby did this All-Star weekend is that kind of, flashpoint for the NBA, to where, at least in the general perspective of the casual fan, the opinion starts to reverse.
Yeah, and to be fair to Adam Silver, there's certain things obviously you can't blame him for. I'm not going to blame Adam Silver for the dunk contest losing value, because even back in the day, it was never guaranteed to get the best superstars in that competition. And also, time has an effect. Like, we have gotten to a point where we've seen so many dunks. We've seen the freak athleticism of a lot of these talent. And you can just go back to the earlier dunk contest and what we have today, even though what we have today, maybe not names you know super well, they're throwing down crazy stuff that would have easily won them back in the past. And then for the players caring and wanting to, you just got to hope that players have that will and want to. And I think every league struggles with that, because these players become such big investments that it's tough to get them go super competitive in a game that's not going to count in that win or loss column. But the part for me, and he's not alone in this, this goes across multiple leagues, it comes to the gambling and how you're making these deals and revenue with some of these sponsors. And then you get into the conversations of tanking, that whole conversation. It just feels like the gambling companies have way too much say in this. And then the way they're looking for revenue, is it maybe you're losing value, so you're going to start plastering a bunch of sponsors on the court? I don't know if anyone's really taken the time to look at a Lakers game and then just see the amount of ads cover to cover on the entire court. It's a little bit jarring. And then, of course, the patches, which I thought people could live with. But the problem for me is it's just going way too fast. And I just want a straight cutoff. I understand things change. And he's not alone in this. You can go to multiple sports, and they're all kind of going down the same rabbit hole. But eventually, I think one of these commissioners needs to stiff arm it a little bit here, because those guys have a lot to say when they're providing that much money.
Yeah, when they're providing that much money, it's hard to make it about pride. You would wish that with the bigger price tag came, more of that give a crap factor, which we haven't necessarily seen. And again, I'm not in these guys' heads. I'm not in their thoughts. I don't know what they're actually thinking. But an easy way to tell from the outside, does this guy, care about the league? Does he care about his legacy, his career? Is he playing? We've had the discussion, is the NBA harder? Is it tougher? Is it more difficult now? It's just different than it was back in the, play every day, you grind through it sort of era. But, that's a debate that's going to continue to rage. I am with you 100% on the gambling thing. It feels like it's gone too far, and maybe the NBA, being the most prominent example of that. But I think society is seeing some bad effects from that in some ways as well. Still relatively early in that. So I'm sure they'll do more studies and more data. I understand, why they would want it, why people would want to do it.
But this is what frustrates me. And I'm sorry, I'll cut you off there. But real quick before we go to break, did we need studies to figure out like how this would go? And this is the part that kind of drives me insane, is I don't think anybody needed a case study to figure out where this goes south.
Yeah, except that we're human and sometimes we like to see it to believe it, right? When sports gambling is tucked away in Las Vegas, out in the desert, and it stays there, or maybe it's in some shady dark alley in New York City that you got to know someone who knows someone on a recommendation, or you're shipping money to a bookie or wiring it, whatever. You don't see it; it's in the shadows, and it doesn't make it better or worse, but it makes it harder to get to. It's less accessible for the common person. I think that was probably better for the league as a whole. Last thing then for me on the tanking thing, I hate what the Jazz are doing, right? I hate that the NBA is punishing them for it, but I hate what they're doing. It's shameless. It's audacious. At the very least, find a way to put them on the injury report. But again, I even hate that, right? If you're going to lose honorably, right? Trade your players, ship them out. Or, we need better incentive structure to where teams are incentivized to try as much as they can or strip it all the way down to the studs. Let's not forget the game that Utah got punished for, Harrison, sitting the starters. They actually won because a bench guy in Bryce Sensabaugh ended up carrying them to a victory. I think that fans of NBA teams, even NFL teams to some degree, in Major League Baseball to a much lesser degree, and I understand that tanking is a thing. It's here to stay. It's going to be an incredibly difficult, I'm not even going to say problem, but issue, complex topic to root out and strike the balance exactly correctly. But if it's going to happen, just go full Sixers, right? Go full trust the process. Sit your guys, say they're out with an injury, just be as bad as you can for a couple of years until you stockpile that talent. Kind of like Detroit, right? Detroit was middling. They finally got a plan. They got Cade Cunningham, and as bad as Cade was early in his career, Detroit, I think, did it ethically. They had bad leadership. They had bad guidance. They made bad basketball decisions. Well, they had their star there the whole time in Cade Cunningham. They finally get some competent management around him, build him a good team, and look at them sitting at the 1 seed in the East right now at the All-Star break. There's no reason Utah can't do that. There's no reason that Philly couldn't have done that back in the day. I think Colangelo and Morey got a little, lost in what they were doing, trying too hard to tank and accumulate as many stars as possible. So I don't want to blame the players for that. That's again where I think we need better adults in charge, right? Have good plans, execute on those plans. I know it's not always in your control, but as bad as mediocre as Detroit was for so long, right? Oklahoma City, had just a very little downturn. They were able to turn it around with a little lottery luck and savvy trading. San Antonio, maybe they froze the Wemby envelope. I don't know, but Keldon Johnson's been good. Stephon Castle was a bit of a risk, right? Devin Vassell has turned out pretty well. Good organizations find ways to be good. Bad organizations find ways to be bad. And it's never going to be a perfect balance in the incentive structure. It's never going to be solved. The NBA just has to do the best it can in both listening to the concerns of fans that are the lifeblood in terms of the ticket revenue and watching the games, but also what's in the best interest of the league that's looking to expand right now. Those rumors have popped back up again. There are always so many stakeholders in this that no one is always going to be perfectly happy all the time. You can't rush to changes just because you hear some voices clamoring for it, but you also can't ignore those voices. They have to be listened to, which is where I go back to. It's the get it right business. Have the right adults in charge to make the right decisions.
Yeah, and for, Silver's credit, he's trying at least. I'll give him some props there, but you get the in-season tournament, whether you like it or not, it's an attempt. And then, of course, you had the play-in tournament, whether you like it or not, it's another attempt to try to get that interest levels back up to maybe what it used to be. Austin Norman, I'll let you go, but I'll let you tell people what you got coming up here because I know you're on the road. We'll have Husker Hoops post-game show, whether with you or Nick Sainert. I'll let you kind of describe what's all coming later down the slot.
Yeah, potentially both. Maybe, but we'll see how it goes. My guess is that I would head down to the pressers. Nick would start us off on postgame, and then I will join at some point after that. But Nebraska, Iowa, huge one coming up tonight. Big thanks to our great sponsors that helped us get all the way out here. We'll tell you more about them on our social media platforms. Stay tuned to our Twitter, the Ticket Twitter, for more of that coming your way. Probably in about an hour is when Media Will Call Gate opens up. So sometime in the next 60 to 75 minutes, Nick and I will be down at Carver Hawkeye, Nebraska, Iowa.
Perfect. Give those guys a follow so you can keep up with it. And also stick around listening to 93.7 The Ticket. We'll have the Husker Hoops postgame show right here. Don't go anywhere. We got a couple more segments. I'll have Tristan Gomez join me next right here at 93.7 The Ticket, ticketfm.com.
Just got new tires put on my car today.
You did? I didn't see you leave the office.
I didn't need to. Graham Tire picked up my car this morning and dropped it back off and they were done.
You're kidding. How'd you get that kind of service?
That's just what they do at Graham Tire.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Have you been looking for home technology upgrades but don't know where to turn? Online information can be contradicting and confusing. Lincoln's own experts at Dio Technologies can turn your living room into the place to watch your favorite sports. Whatever your vision is, Dio Tech is ready to make it a reality. From home theaters to outdoor entertainment spaces, they bring you along through the entire process to make sure you get exactly what you want. If you're ready to upgrade your entertainment space, visit Diotech online at diotech.net or give them a call at 402-793-5124.
Rick Heyman here from Sauter Heyman Jewelers. I want to personally thank our great customers for voting us once again the best of Lincoln. At the same time, we're celebrating our 120th year in business in the great state of Nebraska. You can count on Sauter Heyman for the very best quality, value, and customer service. When it comes to your jewelry needs, visit us at South Point, Grand Island, and the Outlet in downtown Lincoln. Visit us today at SauterHeyman.com, and thank you for your continued trust after all these years.
Hi, Sean Callahan here with Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and wow, what a year it was at Koppel. The Koppel family would like to say thank you for a record-setting sales year in 2025. Now let's start 2026 off with a bang. New GMC Sierra pickups starting at $12,500 off list or 0% APR. Also hot off the presses, new Terrain leases at $299 per month. That's right, $299 per month on new GMC Terrain leases. So please stop on in the store or online at koppelcars.com. Stock numbers G138852 and G165184. 2,500 down with proof credit.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Hey guys, this is former UFC fighter and mixed martial artist Anthony Lionheart Smith. The Upside Bar and Lounge in South Lincoln is the go-to spot for every UFC event, prelims, and main card. There's never a cover, so make sure you get there early and stay late. Upside Bar and Lounge has daily specials, a margarita club, and a taco club. And don't forget, they just added Buzz Bowls to their menu. Learn more about upcoming events by visiting UpsideBarLNK.com and stop into their South Lincoln location for every UFC event on 27th and Pine Lake.
Hey, Nebraska, this is your moment. Love Nebraska is already making noise on the court, but they're still missing one thing, a nickname. That's where you come in. Love Nebraska is giving fans the chance to submit the team's official nickname. Fans will then vote on the finalists later this season. Head to lovneb.com/nameyourteam to submit your nickname and get in the game. Submissions end on February 22nd. Name your team, shape the legacy.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. Get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. When we're looking out for a homeowner, we're always keeping their budget in mind. Let's put numbers together and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in Old School. You got a different group of guys just about every segment here, but that's all right. Putting on the full arsenal on display. You guys can always join in 402-464-5685. We do got college hoops on the brick and mortar, so if you're listening to us, congratulations. That means you found the Ticket app or the streams, Facebook, YouTube, XL, Channel 961, or, of course, if you got people looking for it, just tell them download that Ticket app. Now we got Tristan Gomez in here. How's it going, man? Tuesday, February 17th, 70 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Crazy weather to have here in Nebraska in February. Got a golf yesterday, so that was pretty nice.
Oh, nice.
And then it's Husker game day, so couldn't get any better.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit Husker hoops there on the last segment. I'm sure the guys talked about plenty already. I want to dive into a few things. The All-Star game. Me and Austin, that's kind of where we left off. Did you watch it? If so, which parts did you watch? And did you enjoy the product?
Yeah, I tuned in pretty much just to the game. I think the first one I tuned into was the kind of the old folks against the world, which is kind of a fun game. I feel like for the most part, all of the games were pretty close until that final one. But, honestly, there were things to like about it. I think it's tough, in every sport. I feel like we're kind of getting here where it can just, the lack of competitiveness at times.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool to see Wemby, like you from the get-go. Even Ant said, yeah, Wemby showed up and he wanted to play. And we were like, all right, if we want to even compete, we got to play as hard as this guy.
Which is what you need. You need those players. And this is kind of where me and Us left off. I still think Adam Silver, not one of the better commissioners, maybe worse was too strong of a word, but I've always been a little bit disheartened by some of the decision-making he's had. But for the All-Star games, that's not always where you can just blame him because he can't make players want to play. And back in the era, it wasn't a big problem because, yes, they were investments. They weren't touching the sums of millions of dollars. I mean, some of these contracts they balloon to ridiculous numbers. You go look at Lucas or any of the superstars, you can kind of understand maybe why they don't go as hard. But then when you get a guy like Victor Wembanyama, like you said, it puts everyone on notice. It's like, well, if I don't want to be embarrassed, I'm going to have to compete. And you saw that with Kobe Bryant when he did it. And then LeBron James had to pick up his game because Kobe was going all out. So those things you can't always blame the commissioner, but it is awesome to see those games have some life back in it again. And I give a lot of, credit to the players in that one. As for the dunk contest, I don't know if we'll ever be able to fully fix that. The one thing I would like them to add, though, although maybe they don't need to, since these games were a little bit better, would you like to see a 3v3, a 1v1? And do you think players would even be willing to do that?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's the tough thing about just how much money has been involved. And this isn't all professional sports. I mean, it's the reason why the NFL has the flag football game now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they had the WNBA All-Star. They had
it was great.
And it was great. Like, it was kind of fun to watch. It was entertaining. And you just think, like, a guy like Kobe, he would have loved to do this. Even MJ back in his day. Like, you would think that, like, those are guys that are like, yeah, I want to go against the best in a 1v1 setting. So we can just kind of end this debate now on who you think is better because we're going to play straight up. I'm not sure how hard guys would go when it comes to the defense and that, but I think that would be a fun addition to it and just show, I mean, maybe it is just kind of the foreign guys that are in the NBA, but it seems like they love the game of basketball so much that, the money is just, it's an exciting part of it, but they want to show that they're the best. And so I think if you're not going to take the money away, but if you can find a way to just bring like the life back into it and just the love of the game to the point where guys do want to compete and just show that they are the best.
Yeah. And, we'll see. The 1v1, the 3v3, you'd have to have like a sign up form to make sure. I don't know if you can just pick guys because if you pick guys, they might not want to do it. But if you keep it an open forum, I think that's always going to be must-watch TV. But, to your point, it was better than in years prior. So maybe don't go that far yet. The next thing I want to get to is the tanking situation. So obviously Adam Silver, he punishes the Utah Jazz reasonably so because they're not playing any of their starters. You get a big fine for it. Tanking is going to exist, but there should be a fine line for it if you're going to make it that painstakingly obvious. It's a really, to my mind, a middle finger to the fans who bought tickets for that night's game. And yes, I get there's a competitive reason as to why you're trying to do it. It's not a great product for the fan base, and you're kind of leaving those guys out of the picture when you decide to tank the way the Jazz did. So you like the idea of Adam Silver. He's going to put a punishment down there. But then it gets a little bit slippery, and this is why I always go to gambling, and I didn't have quite time to get to it with Austin Orman. But he was on a podcast as well, and this was kind of more an explanation as to the tanking with Adam Silver. And he goes on to make this statement, quote, if coaches are just willy-nilly not playing guys the entire game, they're not letting people know in advance that they plan to do that, you're going to have a lot of angry gamblers and a lot of angry gambling companies as well. So I think that one aspect of why I had delayed the smackdown, so to speak, on All-Star Weekend. To me, that's the part that makes me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is this because you wanted to make it better for the league, or is this like you got the gambling companies on you?
Yeah, I don't like that approach to it. Is DraftKings is coming at you, or people in Vegas are coming at you. That's not the reason why we play sports. I mean, I think, gambling has been around for so long, but the reason like the real fans want to watch is because they want to see their team win, and they want to watch, great product out on the floor. And, tickets are just getting more and more expensive. And I can't remember who it was. It might've been Kobe, but it was just, there were plenty of fans that, spent their hard-earned money to go watch Kobe Bryant play or LeBron play. And the reason, I think Kobe played so hard, it just seemed like every game was because, someone saved so much money so they could get this product out of him. And if gambling is the reason that the commissioner is saying, this is why I had to do it. No, it's because you want the best product in your league, not because of the people, spending all their money betting on this.
Yeah, it's one thing, be part of the conversation. Okay, just don't even bring that part up.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I preferred it when it was in Vegas and on everybody's minds. But then I don't know if they're that desperate for money or where a lot of this stuff comes from, but also the courts are starting to drive me crazy because you're a Lakers fan, right?
I mean, I was just out in California for my first 2 years of school, and all my friends there were Lakers fans, so I grew to support them. Yeah.
So when you watch the games, do you even notice the amount of ads on that court? It's every space now. And now it's crazy what they do. So they'll actually clean up the courts, but if you're watching on TV, it's an overlay they'll put on there. So some of the ads are on the court, but for the fans watching at home on their TV, they may see 3, 4, sometimes 6 more ads. And those Lakers games in particular, I mean, we got every part of the court. It's got a logo on there.
Yeah, I had no clue that those were actually overlays. I thought those were just on the court.
Yeah.
But it can get frustrating how a lot of, sports in general is just coming to a point where it's all about advertisements. Even in college football now, you can pay universities to put your logo on their uniforms.
Yeah, I think LSU is getting heat for the one that they just added a sponsor to their jersey.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of flack for their fan base.
Yeah, and it's just, in college sports, I think it's even more frustrating just because the goal was always to make it to the professional league. And now that money's involved, it just feels like everyone feels like they're a professional. And, even GMs in every single organization are we want to find a guy that really loves this sport. Obviously you already made the money in college, but we want to find the people that just love this sport. And I think we're seeing a lack of play in even the professional league just because guys are, they're set. They're making so much money, which sure they've earned 100%. But how do you find a way to get the product that we want to see and not have to wait until the playoffs to really get that?
It's a tough situation. And that's why maybe I got to be a little bit nicer on the Commissioner Adam Silver because how do you fix this?
How does he handle that? It's tough because, people are paying for advertisements. Huge organizations, companies are paying the NBA to get their brand out there.
And your viewership is dropping.
Yeah.
And contracts keep going up in the NBA. So there's a lot of finances behind it, but I think there's got to be a healthier balance there. And when you see how quickly some of these teams embrace it and some of these organizations, if I was Adam Silver, again, easy. When you're not in the room, I'd make a rule you get X amount of ads, one on the logo, X amount on the court, and that's it. And if your team can't make enough money with that, well, then you got bigger problems. You can't solve all your problems by selling ad space. And like I said, if you're in the room, maybe the conversation's different. When you really look at the numbers, it's oh, never mind. Yeah, you guys go ahead and sell ads. We got a bigger hole than I even realized. But with that being said, we'll get to Cupsker, and then we'll throw it to break here. He says, going to the All-Star game, they didn't make it relevant and make whatever conference wins the All-Star game gets home court advantage. Similar to when baseball had so much success doing that. When I was growing up, they need to bring it back and do it in all sports. This is an idea I don't mind whatsoever. Have the East or West, whoever wins it, they get to host the finals.
Yeah, I think that's a great way. Yeah, you get 4 games over 3 games if it goes to Game 7, and you host Game 7 if your conference wins. And I think the all-star teams are built up of mostly teams and players that are in contenders. That's why they're all-stars. That's why they're there. And so if they go out and they're competing and they win that, they go, yeah, once, the NBA finals come, we got game 7 at our place.
It'd be the best way that I can think
That's
right
a great
now.
idea.
Yeah. And obviously, if they're willing, you could do the 1v1 competitions, or you can have a 3v3, but you got to have that interest there, which is always a little bit easier said than done. We'll throw it to break. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk some Husker hoops on the other side before we switch things over to Takedown Tuesdays with Ridge Love, the national champ, as always. Harrison Arns, Tristan Gomez. We'll talk to you in a bit.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on making the most craveable chicken finger meals, getting them right every time. That's why we hand batter every chicken finger, mix every cane sauce, butter every Texas toast, stir every slaw, salt every fry, squeeze every lemon, and brew every ounce. We do this inside every Raising Cane's, every day, because when you do it right, you can taste it in every bite. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. It doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. Final segment, Old School. Harrison Arns, Tristan Gomez. Let's talk a little bit of Nebraska men's Husker hoops. They got a big one tonight on the road. They're playing the Hawkeyes 8 p.m. We will have Husker hoops post-game coverage likely to start around 10 p.m. I think it's going to be Nick Zaynert and myself. And then when Austin Orman gets done with the press conference, he'll give us his final thoughts. Maybe bleeds past 11 o'clock, but no worries. We'll have it all covered. As long as you guys are up for it, we'll keep talking about it. 8 p.m. Don't got time left. What are the keys for Husker men's team in this game in a tough road environment?
Yeah, I think it's just getting back to the basics of, you have your few guys that you really think of as your scorers. Jamarcus and Rink didn't have the game that they probably wanted to this past weekend, but I think that's just, you flush it. And, how does Price Sanford come out in this game? Back in Iowa, back in a place where, I think he kind of left and was looking for, new beginnings and didn't really love how he left that place. And so I'm excited to see how he plays. So I think it's, can he just control his emotions and do what he does that he's done all season? And then, who's going to step up alongside him? Is it going to be Rank? Is it going to be Jamarcus? Could be Sam Hoiberg. I mean, like Cale Jacob. There's so many guys, but I think it's just playing well-rounded and, playing in a tough environment, keeping it close, and just playing Nebraska basketball.
But I feel pretty good about Price Sanford keeping a level head.
Mm-hmm.
And, is he going to score 25-plus points? I don't know. But I think he'll play a good game like he always does. And that's one of the best things about this basketball team is they're very unselfish. And you'll see with Sanford, he's had games where the announcer will be like, man, he's got 2 points at half. So-and-so's done a great job keeping him down all game. Well, the second you get a little bit tired and that defense isn't as aggressive, that's when he starts taking over and he'll start getting hot. And that's kind of been the pattern of success for him. It's easy to guard a team really, well, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's hard to guard a team tough defensively for an entire half. It's really hard to do when you got to play that same level of energy for 2 halves in a row. I think that's where that Purdue game, Nebraska got back into it because all of a sudden legs get a little bit tired. Are you still chasing around Price Sanford the same way you used to be? And along with the other guys, for the road environment, though, do you think he will be booed by those Iowa Hawkeye fans?
I don't know. I mean, you think about his brother is one of the best Iowa basketball players.
It'd be a bad look for him.
It'd be a really bad look. Yeah, it's just this is a family that did have a really positive impact on this university. And yeah, there are multiple guys from Iowa that were looking for new opportunities. So I don't think you really boo him. I think you might be a little upset that he has been one of the best players in the Big Ten this year. And you're like, that would have been really nice to have. But no, I think this is, you bring him in with open arms. They're having a blackout. So it'll be a pretty rowdy environment, I think. And for Nebraska, it's taking care of the ball, keeping it close. Iowa wants to play a low possession basketball game. They're not going to get out and transition much, but we know Nebraska, they can go on a 10-0 run like that. So I think it's, just keeping it close, playing good defense, and then, just use that spark. And I think Nebraska handles business.
I think they do as well. The one thing that concerns me is Nebraska's defense, and they've done well with it, right? Is take away the baseline, double in the paint. We'll give you threes, not red carpet threes, but we'll go out there and contest. And we're going to do a better job rotating off of those traps inside or cutting off the baseline to get back out there and still make it a tough contested shot. Shout out to the people out here at 93.7 The Ticket Studios. Couldn't keep my composure there. But I will say, to me, that's going to be the key to the game is if they let Iowa get too hot from three, that's where I think this game gets dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as the Purdue game is you just don't want to start out how you did against Purdue. And I think Iowa is a team where if you just, control your defense, don't let them get hot from three. I think Nebraska has the talent and just the whole team aspect. I think there are 7 guys that are really playing consistently or better than, Iowa's guys that they're playing. So it's just keeping it close on the road and don't let the environment get to you.
Absolutely. And on the bright side, Huskers have done pretty well at that on the road. You've seen that team ironically lose their composure at home a little bit more than they have on the road this year. So that one, 8 p.m., like I said, we will have the post-game coverage. You'll be myself, joined with a combination of Nick Sander and Austin Orman. Appreciate everybody listening. This has been Old School. Don't go anywhere. Takedown Tuesdays up next. We got Ridge Levitt, national champ, and then we got Jalen Reyes, associate Nebraska volleyball head coach, on after that. So still plenty left here, local content for you guys. Keep listening. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Just got new tires put on my car today.
You did? I didn't see you leave the office.
I didn't need to. Graham